Chapter 3585. The Divine Offering Land was one of the realms of gods. The Xia clan was one of the top clans in the Divine Offering Land. It was famous in the Divine Offering Land. It was one of the most prestigious clans in the Divine Offering Land. In such a family, the family rules were strict and everything was in order. If one were to talk about the biggest change in the Xia family in recent years, it would be none other than their eldest daughter, Xia Xuening. First, she died to prove her sincerity. Then she reincarnated and had a man. She even brought back a daughter. This matter caused a huge commotion in the Xia clan. Do you think the eldest miss will be able to come out of the realm battlefield alive? In a corner of the Xia clan's mansion, many collateral disciples of the Xia clan had gathered. They were discussing the eldest miss of the Xia clan's direct line of descent. She was the pride of the Xia clan. Nobody dares to say. After all, the realm battlefield is a training ground created by a supreme powerhouse. Even the strongest person would be in danger of dying if they entered it, let alone the eldest Mississippi. I didn't expect the eldest miss to enter the realm battlefield. It said that the eldest miss entered the realm battlefield to oppose the clan leader. She would rather die than marry the young master of the Yun clan. I've heard about this as well. The eldest miss didn't die to prove her sincerity like she did in her past life because of her daughter and her relatives in the mundane world. Based on the conversation between the collateral disciples of the Xia clan, it was clear they knew a lot. The third master is still imprisoned in the clan's inner court. It said that he tried to escape several times but was stopped every time. A collateral disciple of the Xia clan suddenly brought up this topic. This time, the third master has really angered the clan leader. Letting those people go is equivalent to eliminating the eldest miss worries. If the eldest miss finds out about this, she might not even return to the clan in the future. It's normal for the clan leader to be angry. It seems that 300 years later, the marriage alliance between our Xia family and the Yun family is likely to fall through like that year. I really don't know what the clan leader is thinking. Since the eldest miss of this life already has a daughter, why is he forcing her to marry the young master of the Yun clan? Can't he just fulfill her wish? It's said that the young master of the Yun clan is obsessed with marriage. If he doesn't marry the eldest miss, he won't be able to enter the God Emperor stage in his lifetime. Xia Jie, the third master of the Xia family, had been imprisoned by the head of the Xia family, Xia Yu, ever since he released Li Fei, Li Ro and Duan Ruffing. He was not allowed to go out and was also restricted from communicating with the outside world. He was deeply afraid that he wowould tell his daughter, Xia Ningxue, that he had released those people. Xia Yu knew his daughter very well. If she found out about this, she would never return to the Xia family. He would not allow such a thing to happen. Third brother, you've gone too far this time. Every once in a while, Xia Yu, the head of the Xia family, would come to look for Xia Jie. He would always frown when he saw Xia Jie's sloppy appearance. Xia Yu shook his head as he looked at Xia Jie. Too much? I'm afraid he's not as overbearing as you, right? Xia Jie said calmly. Third brother, let's change the topic. Xia Yu said, I must give Qinyan an explanation for this matter. You also know that those people you let go were handed over to the Xia clan because Qinyan trusted me. Now that they're gone, I have to give him an explanation no matter what. Go ahead and give it to him then. Why are you looking for me? Xia Jie said exasperatedly as he rolled his eyes. Third brother, a straightforward person doesn't resort to insinuations. Xia Yu's expression suddenly turned solemn as he stared at Xia Jie. He said in a deep voice, I know you've obtained a piece of profound divine metal that's suspected to be a first-form profound divine metal. The Yun family has also recently obtained a piece of profound divine metal that's suspected to be a first-form profound divine metal. Give me that piece of profound divine metal. If it's really a piece of profound divine metal, it'll merge with the piece of profound divine metal in the Yun family's possession. It'll transform into a second-form profound divine metal and reveal its true form. Third brother, you must cooperate with me on this matter. A hint of warning could be heard in Xia Yu's voice when he spoke. Xia Jie was stunned when he heard Xia Yu's words. Then he could not help but laugh. Xia Yu frowned. What are you laughing at? How can you still laugh at a time like this? Big brother, the small piece of metal you mentioned that seems to be a piece of profound divine metal was no longer with me 700 years ago. Xia Jie shook his head. How's that possible? Xia Yu was in disbelief. You weren't willing when I asked you to study that piece of profound divine metal. You treasure it as much as your life, but now you're telling me it's no longer with you? Big brother, you're right. I do treasure it a lot. Xia Jie nodded. My intuition tells me that it's a profound divine metal. If I can merge it with another first-form profound divine metal, it'll transform into a profound divine metal's true form and begin the path of transformation. If it continues to grow, I might even be able to become a supreme being, let alone an ultimate god. Xia Jie paused for a moment before a gentle look appeared in his eyes. However, I gave it away to someone 700 years ago. Who? Xia Yu asked in a low voice as he stared at Xia Jie. He wanted to find out who had taken the piece of profound divine metal from Xia Jie so he could personally retrieve it. He's not from the divine offering land or the realms of gods. Xia Jie shook his head. Big brother, with your intelligence, it shouldn't be difficult for you to guess who I gave it to. He's not from the divine offering land or the realms of gods. Xia Yu frowned when he heard Xia Jie's words. After a moment his expression changed. Even his voice changed. Don't tell me, you gave the piece of profound divine metal to that young man named Duan Lingtian? Although Xia Yu had never met the man in his daughter's life, he knew his name. Moreover, he knew his third brother had met the man and even scared off the Xia family servant whom his nephew had sent to kill the man. Now that he heard his third brother's words, he immediately knew who his third brother was talking about. Only that person would be able to give away the piece of profound divine metal that was suspected to be a first-form profound divine metal. Big brother, you're really smart. No wonder father appointed you as the next clan leader of the Xia family. Xia Jie gave Xia Yu a thumbs up. Stop flattering me. Xia Yu snapped. You gave the piece of profound divine metal to Duan Lingtian in hopes of paving the way for Duan Lingtian and giving him Duan Lingtian a chance to rise to power. However, do you think a boy from the mundane realm who's weaker than a native from a Devata realm would be of any help to him even if the metal piece is a first-form profound divine metal? In my opinion, even if the profound divine metal has a chance of gaining sentience, it'll leave him and look for another host. Third brother, you're being silly. Giving the piece of profound divine metal to him is no different from throwing it into the sea. It won't even cause a ripple. In the end, Xia Yu shook his head. He felt that his third brother was wasting his effort. Naturally, it was not difficult for him to guess his third brother's thoughts. He was hoping Duan Lingtian would be a good match for his daughter in the future. However, even if a young man from a mundane realm had the help of a profound divine metal, it would be difficult for him to ascend to the realms of gods. Perhaps he would be killed by someone else who had the profound divine metal. Big brother, don't be so sure of yourself. I've met your son-in-law before. Even if he's from a mundane realm, he's not an ordinary person, Xia Jie said. Xia Jie nodded. Back then, he had given the piece of profound divine metal to Duan Lingtian because he hoped the piece of profound divine metal would change Duan Lingtian's fate. With the profound divine metal's help, Duan Lingtian's path in the Devata realms would be smooth sailing. It would not be difficult for him to ascend to the realms of gods in the future. Naturally, he would have to face greater dangers in order to ascend to the realms of gods. If the profound divine metal was exposed, he would be in great danger. Third brother, I know you're worried about that girl. However, there's no need for you to turn to any doctor in a desperate situation. Xia Yu shook his head and said, it's impossible for that young man from a mundane realm to ascend to the realms of gods. He's destined to be inferior to Qin Yen for the rest of his life. Some people's lives are predestined. It's not impossible to go against the heavens and change one's fate. However, it's hard to find even one person in a billion or a trillion people who can do that. Based on Xia Yu's words, it was obvious he did not have high hopes for the man named Duan Lingtian whom his daughter Xia Ningshui had found in this life. No matter what, I still believe in him, Xia Jie said in a deep voice. Even now, Xia Jie still had hope in his heart as he thought about the purple figure in his mind. That young man gave him a very unusual feeling. Otherwise, he would not have given the piece of profound divine metal to Duan Lingtian in the first place. He had done that in hopes of opening up a path to the heavens for Duan Lingtian. At that time, in order to convince Duan Lingtian to accept the piece of profound divine metal, he had even concealed the fact that the piece of profound divine metal might be a first-form profound divine metal. He had only said that it was a strange item that even he could not discover. Up until now, Duan Lingtian, the person involved, was still kept in the dark. Even now, when he thought about the piece of profound divine metal that Xia Jie had given him 700 years ago, he still thought Xia Jie was unaware that the piece of profound divine metal was a first-form profound divine metal, one of the 5 divine elements. Duan Lingtian. In the 9 Serenities battlefield, Duan Lingtian, who was meditating in the Brahma Alliance's base, was suddenly awakened by a loud voice. The voice of the person who had come was filled with ill intentions. Duan Lingtian opened his eyes immediately. A cold smile appeared on his face as he muttered to himself, even after I displayed such strength, Someone still dares to look for trouble? It seems like you're very confident in yourself. A cold glint flashed in Duan Lingtian's eyes as he teleported and disappeared from his spot. Chapter 3586. Outside the Brahma Alliance's encampment, a tall and sturdy figure stood in the sky. He was more than 3 meters tall and he was visually stunning. After all, this was a real height, not an illusion or a trick of celestial origin energy. Was a young man. He was more than 3 meters tall and he had a determined face. He had a fierce look in his eyes and he gave off a majestic aura. Now, he was looking at the purple figure who came out of the Brahma Alliance's encampment. He asked arrogantly, "You are Duan Lingtian?" Duan Lingtian had just come out of the encampment when he looked at the 3-meter-tall young man in front of him. The young man was wearing a yellow robe. He stood there like a towering mountain and he gave off a heavy feeling. Duan Lingtian glanced at him indifferently in the face of his unfriendly question. "You came all the way here to look for me, but you still don't know who I am? If you have something to say, say it quickly. I don't have time to waste with you. If you don't have anything to say, get lost." When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, his tone changed from calm to domineering. After hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the tall and sturdy young man's face darkened. He snorted and said, "Duan Lingtian, do you really think that you are invincible just because you killed 3 9-star war gods with the power of a divine weapon? Let me tell you, there are many people below the god realm who can deal with you." The young man's tone was filled with anger. He was obviously angered by Duan Lingtian's words. "Even if there are people below the god realm who can deal with me, it doesn't include you," Duan Lingtian said indifferently. "Is that so?" The young man sneered. "I'm sorry, but I am one of the people below the god realm who can deal with you, Duan Lingtian." The moment his words left his mouth, the khaki energy on the giant young man's body swept out like khaki divine dragons. In just a blink of an eye, it shrouded Duan Lingtian's surroundings and formed a cage that trapped him. At the same time, an even darker yellow color extended from the giant youth's body. It stood on one side of the void and transformed into a human figure. It stood side by side with the giant youth, and its size was no different from the giant youth's. Chaos Divine Earth. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when the energy took the form of a human. "I didn't expect you to have one of the 5 divine elements, the Chaos Divine Earth. Looking at the form of your Chaos Divine Earth, it must be quite high." The young man sneered disdainfully when he saw Duan Lingtian's surprised expression. "Frog at the bottom of a well. My Chaos Divine Earth has already transformed into its 8th form. Although you have a high-grade divine artifact and can unleash some of its power with your celestial origin energy, your divine artifact will be restricted by my Chaos Divine Earth and won't be able to help you." The young man's tone was filled with arrogance when he spoke. "Is that so?" Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the young man. "You can give it a try." The young man sneered. "All right." Duan Lingtian replied before he made his move. The law of space appeared in his hand. At the same time, a 7-colored light sword appeared in his hand. With just a wave of his hand, he seemed to be able to manipulate the space energy in heaven and earth. Swoosh. With the 7 orifices exquisite sword in hand, Duan Lingtian stabbed it at the giant young man. The sword broke through the void and emitted a dazzling 7-colored light. It was like fireworks that bloomed in the night sky, gorgeous and dazzling. The young man snorted coldly before he began to make his move as well. A vast and majestic khaki-colored energy surged out of his body. At the same time, the cage around Duan Lingtian began to emit waves of pressure as well. The pressure was a powerful gravitational force. The gravitational force pressed down on Duan Lingtian's body, causing him to come to a halt. Even his attack was affected by the gravitational force. It was apparent that the young man was skilled in the law of Earth. Whoosh. At the same time, the 8th-form Chaos Divine Earth moved as well. It circled around the young man like a yellow dragon as it charged toward Duan Lingtian's attack. Whoosh. The young man stretched out his hand and the Chaos Divine Earth whizzed out like a giant python with its mouth wide open to bite the 7-colored sword light that streaked across the void. In the next moment, the 7-colored light was annihilated and the 7 orifices exquisite sword that Duan Lingtian had thrust out was tied up by the rope formed by the Chaos Divine Earth. "Master, the 8-form 5 divine elements completely restrains me. I can't move at all." At the same time, Huanger's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's expression turned grave. At least, that was what the young man thought. "Who are you?" Duan Lingtian asked in a deep voice as he manipulated the space energy to attack the young man. "Yang Meng, a member of the Titan clan." The young man smiled brightly. Duan Ling Tian, from today onwards, your prominent divine artifact is mine. Thank you. As soon as he finished speaking, the young man began to retreat. You're very strong. Even if you don't have a prominent divine artifact, I'm not confident that I can defeat you. The young man was about to take the 7 Orifices exquisite sword with the Chaos Divine Earth. However, how could Duan Ling Tian let him go? Since you're here, don't leave. Duan Ling Tian sneered. I don't have a prominent divine artifact to rely on, but you've also lost the Chaos Divine Earth to rely on. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, he used the teleportation profundity to block Yang Meng's path of retreat. With just a thought, the space energy surged and transformed into a series of fierce attacks that swept toward Yang Meng. It's useless. Yang Meng was calm in the face of Duan Ling Tian's attack. Even if I'm not confident that I can defeat you, I'm still confident that I can block your attack. Although you're strong, the law of earth I'm skilled in isn't something to be trifled with either. Almost at the same time Yang Meng's words left his mouth, the vast and majestic khaki-colored energy formed layer after layer of defenses that protected him within. Indeed, Duan Ling Tian's attacks were unable to break through for a long time. At the same time, Yang Meng took the opportunity to put some distance between him and Duan Ling Tian. However, Duan Ling Tian teleported and approached him again. Just like that, the two of them played hide-and-seek in the sky above the Brahma Alliance's base. However, during this process, Duan Ling Tian's strength was clearly running out. The frequency of his teleportations had also slowed down. It wouldn't take long for Yang Meng to shake off Duan Ling Tian and leave the Brahma Alliance's base. Boom. Rumble. Rumble. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping out. In the next moment, thick vines swept out from the void and headed straight for Yang Meng. At the same time, a green leaf flew over from afar. Its speed was getting faster and faster. In the end, it turned into a bolt of green lightning and headed straight for Yang Meng's Chaos Divine Earth. A moment later, it turned into a rope flickering with green light and bound the 7 Orifices exquisite sword. Whoosh. At the same time, while Yang Meng was fending off the attacks of the vines in the void, a figure appeared at the right time. It was a beautiful woman with a voluptuous figure. Her eyes were like peach blossoms, and her every move carried the unique charm of a mature woman. At this moment, she was staring at Yang Meng like lightning. Big guy, why don't you give this divine artifact to me? From her words, it was obvious that she knew Yang Meng. He Chuanli, I didn't expect you to be here. Yang Meng frowned slightly. Although he had guessed that his old rivals would come, he didn't expect them to come so quickly. He thought that he was already fast enough. That was why he wanted to snatch the Duan Ling Tian's high-grade divine artifact first and leave, leaving his old rivals empty-handed. However, he didn't expect an old rival to appear before he could leave. This old rival had the 8th form Clear Heaven's divine wood. It was the green leaf that had turned into a bolt of lightning. It was currently competing with his Chaos Divine Earth for the high-grade divine artifact. Clear Heaven's divine wood. In the distance, Duan Ling Tian came to a halt when he saw another person appear. He suddenly felt like he had become a supporting character and an onlooker. Yang Meng He Chuanli. Just as Yang Meng and He Chuanli, who had the 8th form Chaos Divine Earth and the 8th form Clear Heaven's divine wood, were about to break into a fight, another voice sounded from the distant sky. In the next instant, a golden ray of light streaked across the sky like a 6-pointed golden star. It appeared nearby in the blink of an eye. He was a young man with a medium build and an ordinary appearance. However, his eyes were bright and piercing. As soon as he appeared, a golden ray shot out of his body as he joined the fight for Duan Ling Tian's prominent divine artifact, the 7 Orifices exquisite sword. The profound divine metal seems to be in its 8th form as well. Duan Ling Tian raised his eyebrows when he recognized the golden ray of light. It was one of the 5 divine elements, the profound divine metal. In the blink of an eye, 3 divine elements had gathered. Moreover, it wasn't his divine elements but someone else's divine elements. Moreover, they were all in their 8th form. You're early. Another voice sounded. It was a woman's voice. Following that, a woman dressed in a light yellow robe appeared before Duan Ling Tian's eyes. The woman had a delicate face and a thin figure. She looked like she was in her early 20s. However, there was a hint of vicissitudes in her eyes. It was obvious she was not young. Whoosh. At the same time, a blue ray of light flew out from the woman's body and joined in the fight for the 7 Orifices exquisite sword. An 8th form world-cleansing divine water. Upon seeing this, Duan Ling Tian felt a little numb. Now all that's left is the Chaos Divine Flame. Just as Duan Lingtian thought to himself, a ray of light shot out from the distance. A streak of rapid fire rapidly approached from afar. From afar it looked like a scorching sun. Chapter 3587. When the flames came closer, Duan Lingtian saw a scorching hot light shooting out from the flames. It turned into a fiery red rope that bound the 7 orifices' exquisite sword and joined the fight. With this, the 5 divine elements were gathered together. Moreover, every single one of the divine elements was an 8th form divine element, one that was extremely close to the 9th form. The 9th form of the divine elements was considered the final form of the divine elements. Furthermore, the divine elements could give birth to an independent soul that could leave their original bodies and form their own bodies. At that time, they would be able to live like a normal life form and would no longer be spied on. As for the original bodies of the divine elements, they would scatter between heaven and earth and transform into a large number of first-form divine elements. I didn't expect to be the last to arrive. The last person to arrive was shrouded in flames. He wore a fiery red robe that enveloped his entire body. Due to the flames surrounding his body, even his true appearance was concealed. It was difficult to see what he looked like. Of course, with just a glance, Duan Lingtian could tell that this person had intentionally concealed his identity. It seemed like he was not a nobody after leaving the 9 Serenities battlefield. As for the other 4 people, they either didn't reveal their true appearances, or no one would recognize them even if they walked out of the 9th Serenity battlefield. That was why they were able to reveal their appearances so openly and didn't have to worry about being recognized. In the 9 Serenities battlefield they were not afraid of anyone. However, once they left the 9 Serenities battlefield, they would not be able to fight against anyone who had become a god. Even those who had become gods would be tempted by the 5 divine elements, not to mention that the 5 divine elements in their bodies were all in the 8th form. Furthermore, they were all close to the 9th form. Beast Hua, you haven't appeared in the 9 Serenities battlefield for a long time. I didn't expect you to make a special trip here. It seems like even you can't resist the temptation of the superior divine weapon. The woman in the yellow robe who brought the world-cleansing divine water with her said in surprise when she saw the last person to arrive with the primal chaos divine flame. Han Xian, you can't resist the temptation as well, can you? The figure called Beast Hua who was shrouded in flames opened his mouth. His voice was loud and clear, full of energy. It was actually a male. I just arrived as well. Yang Meng, He Chunli, and Tan Jin arrived earlier than me. The woman called Han Xian glanced at the other 3 and smiled faintly. I didn't expect that all my old friends would gather together. Tan Jin, the young man who had brought the profound divine gold here, smiled faintly. It's the first time that all 5 of us have gathered together, right? Indeed. Yang Meng nodded. Right now, he was no longer arguing with He Chunli because it was meaningless. If they continued to fight, the other 3 would only benefit from it. Everyone, I'm sure none of you are willing to miss out on a high-grade divine artifact. At this moment, He Chunli also spoke. Her gaze landed on Duan Lingtian as a faint smile appeared on her face. However, before that, shouldn't we first eliminate the owner of the 7 orifices' exquisite sword? Only then will the 7 orifices' exquisite sword become ownerless. Otherwise, even if we fight until our heads bleed over the 7 orifices' exquisite sword, we won't be able to use the 7 orifices' exquisite sword in the end. As soon as He Chunli spoke, Duan Lingtian became the target of everyone's criticism. I agree. Yang Meng was the first to agree. His gaze turned cold as he looked at Duan Lingtian. I agree. Tan Jin also nodded. The young man who had a faint smile on his face gave off a harmless vibe, but the coldness in the depths of his eyes was enough to make one's heart palpitate. I have no objections. Han Xian also spoke. Since that's the case, let's eliminate him first. As soon as the voice of the beast flame faded, it was as if a storm was brewing behind him. One after another, gigantic beasts appeared. They were all gigantic demonic beasts. They gathered around the beast flame and lined up neatly, as if they were well-trained soldiers. Roar! Roar! The group of beasts roared in unison, their voices shaking the heavens. Scorching flames burned on their bodies. It was obvious that these beasts were similar to Beast Hua in that they were proficient in the law of fire. This fellow is still the same as before. He likes to bring a group of beasts out whenever he goes out. Yang Meng shook his head. Ah, Tan Jin laughed. Yang Meng, the beast fire's demonic beasts aren't just for show and show. Could it be that you've forgotten the last time when you fought with the beast flame, your defense was broken by the attacks of these demonic beasts? Yang Meng snorted when he heard this. That's because I was waiting for him to break my defense. Otherwise, even if his beasts set up a formation, they wouldn't be able to hit me. No matter what, you have to admit that beasts are not ordinary. Tianjin smiled. At this moment, the 7 orifices exquisite sword was being restrained by the 5 divine elements. It could not control itself at all and could not help Duanling Tian. At this moment, Duanling Tian was also surrounded by 5 powerful 9-star gods of war who possessed the 5 divine elements. At the same time, a group of beasts stood in a formation in the air, glaring at Duanling Tian. It was as though they had locked onto Duanling Tian. If Duanling Tian made any strange movements, they would pounce on him. Duanling Tian isn't even 700 years old, and he's the only true disciple of the legendary heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, Feng Qingyang. Such a young 9-star god of war. Let alone the 9 serenities battlefield, I don't think there's anyone like him in the Devata realms, right? Yang Ming sighed as he looked at Duanling Tian. In the 9 serenities battlefield and the Devata realms, Duanling Tian's achievements are unprecedented. Tianjin nodded. A 9-star god of war who's not even 700 years old? If it weren't for his wealth, I wouldn't be willing to destroy him. He Chuanli said. His life isn't in vain since he's dying in our hands, Han Xian said. Duanling Tian snorted. Humph. Beast Fire snorted coldly as the flames around his body flickered. So what if he's a genius? He's still going to die in our hands today. I just don't know. If my demonic beasts eat such a genius, will there be any changes? I'm really looking forward to it. As Beast Fire spoke, the flames around his body flickered even more violently. As for Duanling Tian, he stood there. His expression was not as serious as when he faced Yang Meng. Instead, a faint smile could be seen on his face as he looked at the 5 people before him. How can you still smile at a time like this? Yang Meng, who was the first to notice Duanling Tian's smile, could not help but laugh mockingly. Duanling Tian, are you scared out of your wits? You're finally here. However, Duanling Tian suddenly said when he heard Yang Meng's mocking words. Yang Meng and the others were stunned by Duanling Tian's words. Duanling Tian continued to say, before entering the 9 serenities battlefield, I've heard that there are 5 strongest 9-star gods of war in the 9 serenities battlefield. Each of them possesses a high-grade 5 divine element. Due to their existence, no one dares to reveal the 5 divine elements. Only those who can confirm that one of them has already become a god and possess the 5 divine elements like that person would dare to show themselves. I'm sure all of you have gone through the incubation period. Currently, all of you are the 5 strongest 9-star gods of war in the 9 serenities battlefield. Am I right? Upon hearing Duanling Tian's words, Yang Meng and the others could not help but frown. Since you know that the 5 of us are the strongest 9-star gods of war in the 9 serenities battlefield, why don't you hurry up and surrender yourself? If we join forces, I'm afraid you won't even have a complete corpse. At that time, my demon beast will lose a good meal as well. I've been waiting for all of you. Duanling Tian was still smiling. Just when Yang Meng and the others were frowning, they could not figure out why Duanling Tian was laughing. Duanling Tian had already soared into the air and extended both of his arms. Following that, the silhouette of a gigantic tree appeared and gradually solidified on his body. It was the Pine Willow Divine Tree's godly idol avatar. In the next moment, when the Pine Willow Divine Tree's godly idol avatar completely solidified, a strange energy suddenly rose from the outer perimeter of the Brahma Alliance's base. This energy spiraled from the outer perimeter of the Brahma Alliance's base, and the center of the spiraling was where Duanling Tian was standing. At that moment, Yang Meng and the others only felt that this power was a bit strange. However, they did not sense anything abnormal. The reason for that was because this power did not affect them in the slightest, regardless of whether it was their bodies, souls, or even their powers. What kind of formation is this? Although they did not feel anything out of the ordinary, they felt that Duanling Tian would not do something useless. The more they could not find anything out of the ordinary, the more uneasy they felt. In fact, they even had a faint sense of foreboding. Our 5 divine elements. As soon as He Chuanli spoke, they quickly realized that the 5 divine elements that were fighting for the 7 orifices exquisite sword had unknowingly left the sword and were flying toward Duanling Tian. After that, they swam around Duanling Tian's Pine Willow Divine Tree. When they were close to each other, they looked like colorful ribbons from afar. What's going on? Yang Meng's expression changed. I can't contact the Chaos Divine Earth. I can't contact the world-cleansing Divine Water as well. Han Xian's expression changed as well. As for the other 3, their expressions changed as well. They were also unable to contact their 5 divine element spirits. What kind of formation is this? While the five people's expressions changed drastically, Duan Lingtian waved his hand and retrieved the 7 orifices exquisite sword. His aura instantly became much sharper. 5 divine elements? At the same time, Duan Lingtian's gaze landed on the 5 people. The faint smile on his face widened as he said, "I'm sorry, but I have one as well." Chapter 3588. 5 divine elements? I'm sorry, but I have one as well. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Yang Meng, Tanjin, and the others were stunned. At this moment, a vigorous energy surged out of Duan Lingtian's body. Around this vigorous energy, there were 5 energies of different colors entwined around it. Ah! At the same time, a young boy's voice rang in the air from the yellowish energy. "Lingtian boy, well done. I didn't expect I'd be able to ascend from the 7th form to the 9th form in a single bound." It was clear the voice belonged to one of the 5 divine elements in Duan Lingtian's body, the Chaos Divine Earth. Among the 5 divine elements in Duan Lingtian's body, only the Chaos Divine Flame was in its 8th form. The rest of the 5 divine elements were in their 7th form. On the other hand, the 5 divine elements in Duan Lingtian's body were united as though they were a family. If they encountered any other divine elements, they would join forces to suppress them and allow their divine elements to devour the other divine elements. In their opinion, it was a good thing that their companion's strength had increased. They would be able to help him in the future. "Little Tian, thank you." At the same time, the world-cleansing divine water also expressed its gratitude to Duan Lingtian. However, its voice sounded weaker than before. It was clear it had not fully recovered. Even the Chaos Divine Earth's voice sounded weak when it spoke earlier. "It seems like all of us will be able to ascend to the 9th form this time." The clear heaven's divine wood's voice rang in the air. Although the Chaos Divine Flame and the profound divine metal did not say anything, Duan Lingtian knew they were grateful to him. However, as the 5 divine elements who had followed him since the beginning, they were familiar with each other and had a tacit understanding with each other. There were many things that he did not have to be too formal with them. Just like now. 5 divine elements. At the same time, Yang Meng and the other 4 divine elements noticed the vitality energy in Duan Lingtian's body. The 5 energies were familiar yet unfamiliar to them. They were the 5 divine elements, but they were not their divine elements. After all, they had experienced this feeling many times before. This was because the 5 divine elements in their bodies had evolved by devouring other people's 5 divine elements. In the 9 Serenities battlefield, all the 5 divine elements that had appeared before had been devoured by the 5 divine elements, except for those that were not targeted by the 5 divine elements. That was why the 5 divine elements could grow to such a level today. In the Purgatory battlefield, where immortal emperors gathered, plundering the 5 divine elements depended entirely on luck. It depended on whether one could encounter a suitable divine element and whether one could deal with the opponent. However, in the 9 Serenities battlefield, it all depended on one's strength. None of them dared to expose their 5 divine elements in the 9 Serenities battlefield because they were afraid of being killed by the other party and their 5 divine elements being devoured by the other party's 5 divine elements. Hence they kept a low profile. It was only when they grew stronger that they realized there was no one who could match them that they began to show off. In recent years, the 5 of them had stood at the peak of the 9 Serenities battlefield. Their divine elements were close to the 9th form, and their strength was comparable to that of a 9-star god of war. They were invincible in the 9 Serenities battlefield. If it was not for the temptation of a prominent divine artifact with an artifact soul, they would not have gathered together. In fact, although they all knew each other, it was the first time the 5 of them had gathered together. "Oh no! These 5 divine elements are going to devour our divine elements." He Chunli's expression changed drastically when she saw the life energy that was brimming with vitality coming out of Duan Lingtian's body and the unfamiliar divine elements fusing with the pine willow divine tree's godly image physique. Then, a devouring force began to spread out and shrouded her and the other 4 divine elements. No! Han Xian's expression changed drastically. Her long hair fluttered in the wind as a chilling aura surged from her body. Soon after, ice formed under her feet and brought her toward her divine elements, the world-cleansing divine water. Until now, her world-cleansing divine water had not shown any signs of activity. She realized that if she did not do anything, her world-cleansing divine water would be devoured by the other world-cleansing divine water. At that time she would lose her world-cleansing divine water. She would not allow that to happen. "Let's get our divine elements back." At this moment Yang Meng, Tanjin, Beast Hua, and He Chunli began to make their moves as well. Different energies exploded from their bodies before they shot toward Duanling Tian as though they had transformed into 4 different colored rays of light. To be more precise, they shot toward Duanling Tian with the pine willow divine tree's godly image physique as the center. The 5 divine elements had fallen into a strange state of slumber. They wanted to awaken their divine elements. They did not want their divine elements to sit around and wait for their deaths. They did not want to lose their divine elements. They had been together for so many years and relied on the divine elements to get to where they were today. Naturally, they did not want to lose their divine elements. If they had a choice, even if they had to give up Duanling Tian's prominent divine artifact with an artifact soul, they would do anything to protect their divine elements. In fact, with the help of the 5 divine elements, they would be able to make a name for themselves in the realms of gods. Even if he couldn't become an immortal expert in the end, he still had a good chance of breaking through and becoming the strongest ultimate god under the immortal experts as long as he didn't die prematurely. As for prominent divine artifacts, they would be able to obtain as many as they wanted after they became ultimate gods. They did not even need to become ultimate gods. After they became celestial emperors, they would be able to obtain a prominent divine artifact with an artifact soul. If they learned how to refine divine artifacts in the realms of gods, they would be able to refine prominent divine artifacts with artifact souls even after they became celestial emperors. What was a high-grade divine artifact in front of the 5 divine elements? At this moment, their hearts were filled with regret. I shouldn't have been greedy. I shouldn't have been greedy. If I lose the profound divine metal because of a prominent divine artifact, I won't be able to rest in peace. We must save the clear heavens divine wood at all costs. At this moment, Yang Meng and the 4 others were extremely anxious. All they could think about was saving their divine elemental spirits. As for the high-quality god artifacts, they had completely forgotten about them. They were no longer important. Thank you for your divine elements. Almost as soon as Han Xian made his move, Duanling Tian made his move. In just a flash, he left the pine willow divine tree's godly image avatar and appeared in front of Han Xian to block his path. At the same time, he shook the 7 orifices exquisite sword in his hand and let it fly out. Huang, I'll leave them to you. Earlier, their 5 divine elements imprisoned and restrained you. Now, no matter how angry you are, you can vent it on them. As for their divine elements, as long as Sister Shui and the others have time, they'll be able to devour them with the 5 elements spirit-devouring divine formation and their own strength. After Duanling Tian tossed the 7 orifices exquisite sword out, he said unhurriedly. Then he stood at the side with his hands clasped behind his back as he watched everything unfold in front of him. Occasionally he would look at the life force of the divine element spirit that was devouring Yang Meng and the others. Occasionally he would look at Huang who was in her human form as she fought with Han Xian. Swoosh. With the help of the 7 orifices exquisite sword, Huang killed Han Xian in just 1 blow. Han Xian was one of the 5 strongest 9-star gods of war in the 9 Serenities battlefield. Although the world-cleansing divine water that was no longer under her control was part of her strength, she was still much stronger than Yu Chaochuan, Swordsman Chu, and Jianghu whom Huang had killed earlier. The reason she was in such a terrible state was because she was on the verge of losing the world-cleansing divine water, and she was unable to calm down. Although she had regained her senses when Huang's sword was right in front of her, it was too late. She was killed as soon as she regained her senses. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. As soon as Han Xian died, Yang Meng and the others who were following behind her regained their senses. They stopped in midair and broke out in cold sweat. Even the group of demonic beasts following behind the beast flame also stopped and stood quietly in the void without making a single sound. Their emotions seemed to have changed along with the beast flame. Traces of fear could be seen in the eyes of the demonic beasts. These demonic beasts were, in fact, celestial beasts without much intelligence. They were trained by Beast Hui using a special method to control them. At this moment, Beast Hui's heart was in a mess. They could vaguely feel the fear in her heart, causing them to feel uneasy. At this moment, Yang Meng, Duanling Tian, and the Pine Willow Divine Tree's Divine Technique Doppelganger were not far from where the 5 divine element spirits were. However, there was a rainbow-colored figure standing in the middle of them on a sword. They did not dare to move forward, afraid that they would follow in Han Xian's footsteps. Huang was dressed in a rainbow-colored robe. She stood on her sword as she stared coldly at Yang Meng and the others. Her aura was condensed, and the 7 orifices exquisite sword beneath her flickered with rainbow-colored sword rays. It was as though if Yang Meng and the others dared to move, they would be destroyed at lightning speed. At this moment Huang looked like a rainbow-colored sword god. I have a sword that can block all enemies in the world. There is nothing better than this. Chapter 3589. Huang stood there with her seven-colored robe fluttering in the wind. She looked valiant as she wielded her sword. On the other hand, Yang Meng, Tanjin, and the others were still unable to contact their 5 divine elements. Moreover, Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements seemed to be threatening them. Their expressions changed again and again. However, they could not help but feel apprehensive when they saw Huang standing in front of them. Duan Lingtian. Yang Meng looked at Duan Lingtian and said in a deep voice, "If you're willing to let go of my chaos divine earth and let it leave with me, I, Yang Meng, swear that I'll never make an enemy out of Duan Lingtian again. I'll avoid you whenever I see you." Duan Lingtian, I'm willing to do the same as well. Tanjin chimed in as well. As for Beast Hua and He Chuanli, although they didn't speak, their gazes were filled with anticipation when they looked at Duan Lingtian. If Duan Lingtian was willing to let go of Yang Meng and Tanjin's 5 divine elements, they would make the same promise and leave with their 5 divine elements. They would leave Duan Lingtian and would no longer make an enemy out of Duan Lingtian. At the very least, they would not make an enemy out of Duan Lingtian for the time being. If you want to make a move, then make a move. Duan Lingtian glanced at Yang Meng and Tanjin indifferently before he said unhurriedly, I've been planning this for a long time to lure you into my trap. Now that you're here and have given me your 5 divine elements, there's no way I'll give up halfway. If you want to take back your 5 divine elements, do it yourself. Hurry up. I'm afraid you'll only be able to watch as my 5 divine elements devour your 5 divine elements if I'm too late. Duan Lingtian's words angered Yang Meng and the others to the point their expressions changed again. When they looked at Duan Lingtian again, their gazes were as sharp as blades and filled with killing intent. However, Duan Lingtian merely looked at them indifferently. Today, if he hadn't gained the upper hand, he would have been the one to die. Therefore, he did not feel the slightest bit of pity for the 5 people in front of him. He only felt that they deserved it. Make your move. Even if we have to risk our lives, we must rescue our 5 divine elements. Otherwise, our future will be ruined. He Chuanli said in a deep voice. Even without the 5 divine elements, they still had a chance to ascend to godhood. However, as someone who had the potential to become an ultimate god or even an ultimate god, it was hard for her to accept the fact that she had suddenly lost such an opportunity. It was not only He Chuanli. The other 3 people also reacted the same way. A person who had been standing high for a long time would not be willing to come down. Beast Flame, you and Yang Meng will keep the high-grade divine artifact soul busy. He Chuanli and I will attack. One of us will deal with Duan Lingtian, and the other will save our 5 divine elements. Tanjin's expression instantly turned serious and solemn as he spoke in a low voice. Why are we the ones restraining the artifact soul? Beast Flame asked in a deep voice. He had just witnessed how terrifying the high-grade divine artifact soul was. If possible, he really didn't want to go up against her. Beast Flame, I have no intention of targeting you. However, you have an army of beasts at your command. Yang Meng's defense is the strongest among us. Among the 4 of us, only you and Yang Meng are suitable to restrain her. Tanjin was not surprised by Beast Flame's question and explained in a clear manner. Beast Flame. Yang Meng said with a gloomy expression. At this point, there's no need for us to scheme against each other. If we waste any more time, our 5 divine elements will really be devoured. I don't think that's what you want to see, right? Don't worry, you and I will work together to restrain the high-grade divine artifact soul. I'll fight her in front of you and block more of her attacks. You just have to support me from behind. Upon hearing Yang Meng's words, Beast Flame no longer had any questions. The 2 of them exchanged glances before they made their move under Yang Meng's lead and charged toward the 7-colored figure blocking their path. As for Tanjin and He Chuanli, one of them charged toward Duan Lingtian while the other charged toward the 5 divine elements. It had to be said that both of them had made the right choice. However, they had overlooked a problem which was also the most important problem. The most important issue was that they were currently in a formation. Although the 5 divine elements devouring divine formation was set up by Duan Lingtian, it was set up according to one of his 5 divine elements, the world-cleansing divine water. Naturally, the 5 divine elements did not have to be Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements. It could be other 5 divine elements as well. In fact, if the other 5 divine elements were trapped in the 5 divine elements devouring divine formation, not only would their energy be forcefully absorbed to maintain the formation, but they would also lose their consciousness. This was the main reason Yang Meng and the others could not contact their 5 divine elements devouring divine elements. At this moment, The 5 divine elements devouring divine formation were no longer being maintained by Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements devouring divine formation. Naturally, the core of the formation was the pine willow divine tree's godly image phenomenon that had merged with Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements devouring divine formation. It was easy to break the formation. All they had to do was destroy the pine willow divine tree's godly image phenomenon. However, the pine willow divine tree's godly image phenomenon was currently under the protection of Yang Meng and the others' 5 divine elements devouring divine tree. Since they were the energy source of the formation, it was only natural that they were the energy source that maintained the stability of the formation. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Faced with Yang Meng Beast Flame, and the demonic beasts led by Beast Flame Huang made her move. Her movements were as fast as lightning, and the 7-colored sword ray followed her like a shadow. In just a blink of an eye, it had turned into a rain of swords that enveloped both of them. Come at me. Yang Meng roared as the yellow energy on his body exploded, forming layers upon layers of protective shields that blocked the rainbow-colored sword rain. Although the protective shield shattered inch by inch, the shockwaves from the attack weren't enough to harm Yang Meng. No matter what, Yang Meng was still one of the strongest 9-star war gods. Moreover, he specialized in the law of earth, which was known as the number 1 defensive law, among the many laws. Of course, Yang Meng alone wasn't enough to block all of Huang Er's attacks. A mere artifact soul. Watch how I destroy you. Beast Flame's flames surged as he transformed into a flaming giant in the blink of an eye. With a raise of his hand, he seemed to be able to incinerate the heavens and the earth. Roar. Brr. When Beast Flame made his move, the demonic beasts behind him moved as well. Although there was fear in their eyes, they didn't slow down in the slightest. Even if a large number of demonic beasts at the front were killed, the demonic beasts at the back didn't seem to notice as they continued to advance like a suicide squad. At this moment, Yang Meng and Beast Flame were clear about their duty. They had to restrain the artifact soul in front of them so that she wouldn't be able to deal with Tanjin and He Chuanli. Of course, if the situation permitted, they would also want to destroy the artifact soul in front of them. However, after a round of confrontation, they knew that it was difficult to restrain the artifact soul, let alone destroy it. Tanjin He Chuanli, hurry up. We can't hold on for long. Yang Meng roared as the yellow energy on his body surged to resist the 7 orifices exquisite sword's attack. As for Beast Flame, he led a group of demonic beasts to surround Huang. Huang Er was surrounded by demonic beasts from all directions. There was no way for her to escape. There was only one way for her to escape. She had to fight her way out. On the other hand, Yang Meng and Beast Flame were fighting with their lives on the line. They were fighting with their lives on the line to save their 5 divine element spirits. On the other hand, Tanjin, who was shrouded in a golden light as though he had transformed into a golden giant, charged toward Duan Lingtian. As for He Chuanli, she was being pulled by the vines toward the 5 divine element spirits. Tanjin. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes as he looked at the person shrouded in golden light charging toward him. Tanjin was one of the strongest 9-star gods of war in the 9 Serenities battlefield. He was also skilled in the law of metal. His attacks were so strong that he could definitely be ranked among the top in the 9 Serenities battlefield. For such an existence to attack him, even though he felt pressured, what flowed through his blood was more battle intent. His fighting spirit soared into the sky. Good timing. As the golden figure approached, a golden saber radiance whizzed toward him. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed as he teleported and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was above Tanjin's head. As for Tanjin, it was as if he had eyes on the top of his head. His legs suddenly shook the void, and his entire body seemed to have turned into a golden pillar of light, soaring into the sky. Bursts of rumbling sounds rang out, and everywhere he passed, the fine moisture in the air was completely evaporated. The terrifying power caused the surface of the golden pillar of light to produce streaks of golden lightning that looked like golden electric snakes. At this moment, Duan Lingtian did not have the time to cast the teleportation profundity again. Control. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed as he displayed the way of control. He then combined the space sword principle with the power of space to display. Although he did not have the 7 orifices exquisite sword to rely on, he still had other medium divine swords that did not have sword souls. He still has a divine artifact. Tanjin had thought that he could easily defeat Duan Lingtian with the power of his divine artifact. After all, Duan Lingtian's divine artifact was restrained and could not be used. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to have another divine artifact. How many divine artifacts does Duan Lingtian have? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sword radiance formed by the power of space swooped down toward Tanjin. At this moment, Tanjin was punching out his right fist toward the sky. He was wearing a pair of gloves on which the power of the law of metal bloomed. It was like golden lightning intertwining with each other, giving off a dazzling light that was extremely dazzling. In an instant, the attacks of the two men collided together. In the next moment, after a moment of silence, a terrifying power exploded. The whole world flashed and dimmed for a moment before it slowly returned to normal. As the parties involved, Duan Lingtian and Tanjin were now facing each other from a distance. Both of them looked a little embarrassed. Chapter 3590. My current comprehension of the laws of space is still a little lacking. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Earlier he had exerted all of his strength, but he was still evenly matched with Tanjin. This showed how terrifying Tanjin's comprehension of the law of metal was. Duan Lingtian had even used the Tao of control and the space sword principle earlier. Even so, he was still unable to gain the upper hand. It should be known that his way of control and space sword principle had greatly improved his strength. Even so, when he used 70 to 80% of his strength, he was only evenly matched with Tanjin. Tanjin is indeed a top 9-star god of war in the 9 Serenities battlefield. Although Duan Lingtian had expected Tanjin to be so powerful, he was still shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. In fact, Duan Lingtian was not the only one who was shocked. Even Tanjin was shocked. Duan Lingtian is still so powerful even without the help of a prominent divine weapon? Duan Lingtian was not the only one who had exerted all of his strength earlier. Even Tanjin had exerted all of his strength earlier. However, he did not gain the upper hand at all. He was completely evenly matched with Duan Lingtian. His expression turned solemn. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, his eyes were filled with vigilance. However, when he saw He Chunli approaching his profound divine metal and the other 5 divine elements from the corner of his eye, he heaved a sigh of relief. Although he did not manage to defeat or kill Duan Lingtian, at least he managed to pin him down, giving He Chunli a chance to rescue the 5 divine elements. If Yang Meng and Beast Hua had seen He Chunli approaching the 5 divine elements, they would have been as happy as Tanjin. Unfortunately, they were completely focused on the battle and could not afford to be distracted. On the other hand, Beast Hua's group of demonic beasts would lose one of their demonic beasts every now and then. At the same time, they were gradually at a disadvantage. It was obvious they would not be able to hold on for long. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The sharp 7-colored sword radiance looked bright and beautiful, but in fact, it contained waves of cold killing intent. If Yang Meng and Beast Fire were careless, they could die under the sword radiance in the next moment. Clear Sky Divine Wood. He Chunli arrived in front of the Pine Willow Divine Tree without any obstructions. She looked at her Clear Heavens Divine Tree with excitement in her eyes. I'm here to save you. As soon as he finished speaking, He Chunli had already furiously attacked. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Thick vines appeared out of thin air. They were none other than He Chunli's power. The vines flew toward the Pine Willow Divine Tree's godly image celestial body like violent pythons. From the looks of it, they wanted to destroy the Pine Willow Divine Tree's godly image Dharma body. A few moments later, the python-like vines landed on the Pine Willow Divine Tree's godly image projection. In an instant, a 5-colored light rose from the Pine Willow Divine Tree's godly image celestial body, and it forcefully blocked the vine's attack. He Chunli was shocked by the Pine Willow Divine Tree's powerful defense. This was because her attack earlier was completely useless. However, in the next moment she realized her attack was not useless. Under normal circumstances she would be happy. Since her attack was not useless, she would be able to destroy the Pine Willow Divine Tree's defense with a few more attacks. However, after her attack, she hesitated and did not attack again. Instead, she stared at her Clear Heavens Divine Wood in disbelief. Clear Heavens Divine Wood, why are you still helping it? That's not right. It's not just my Clear Heavens Divine Wood. Even Tanjin's profound divine metal, Beast was Chaos Divine Flame, Yang Meng's Chaos Divine Earth, and Han Xian's world-cleansing divine water are helping to fend off my attacks. At this moment He Chunli realized that after her attack, not only did her Clear Heavens Divine Wood dim, but the other 5 divine elements that belonged to Yang Meng and the others had dimmed as well. On the other hand, the Pine Willow Divine Tree's godly image celestial body, Duan Lingtian's life energy, and the 5 divine elements surrounding them did not change at all. No, she could not say that there were no changes at all. At the very least, the auras of Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements seemed to be transforming at every moment. This was because they were devouring the 8 forms of the 5 divine elements to their heart's content. Originally, their devouring progress was very slow, but when He Chunli's attack caused the 5 divine elements to dim a little, they were able to devour them with twice the result with half the effort. It could be said that He Chunli had indirectly helped them. This was one of the great mysteries of the 5 divine elements devouring divine formation. As the longest living divine element among Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements, the world-cleansing divine water had long anticipated that they would discover what was happening. Therefore she had set up this trap to lure them in. He Chunli had successfully taken the bait. It's a formation. Initially, He Chunli was still puzzled as to why her attack had depleted her clear heaven's divine wood and Yang Meng's 5 divine elements when it had clearly landed on the pine willow divine tree. After a while, she extended her divine consciousness and quickly discovered that the energy surrounding the pine willow divine tree came from their 5 divine elements. In fact, the energy that was powering the formation came from her clear heaven's divine wood and Yang Meng's 5 divine elements. When she discovered this, she was so angry that she almost vomited blood. That Duan Lingtian was too shameless, wasn't he? It was one thing for him to set up a trap to steal their 5 divine elements, but he had even resorted to such a despicable method to make their 5 divine elements destroy themselves. Forget it. Even if I manage to disperse their energy, they'll be able to recover after some time. The depletion of their energy won't affect their current form at all. They'll be able to recover by sleeping. After making up her mind, He Chunli decided to make another move and continue attacking the pine willow divine tree. She wanted to see how long the pine willow divine tree could last even with the protection of her clear heaven's divine wood and Yang Meng's 5 divine elements. However, just as she was about to make another move, she caught a glimpse of Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements from the corner of her eye. She could sense the life energy in the 5 divine elements. Alright. How could I have forgotten about them? Didn't Duan Lingtian want his 5 divine elements to devour our 5 divine elements? Now that his 5 divine elements are devouring our 5 divine elements, if I can injure them, they won't be able to devour our 5 divine elements anymore, right? Who knows, I might even be able to capture them and turn them into nourishment for our 5 divine elements. He Chunli's eyes brightened when she thought about this. Without any hesitation, she made a move on Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements. The vines shot out again like pythons with their mouths wide open as they charged toward the 5 divine elements. However, He Chunli soon discovered something else. Her clear heaven's divine wood Yang Meng and Yang Meng's 5 divine elements extended their energy to protect Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements. Damn it! It's the formation again. Although He Chunli knew this was the effect of the formation, she was still infuriated. She coughed out a mouthful of blood before swallowing it back down. At the same time, her clear heaven's divine wood Yang Meng and Yang Meng's 5 divine elements dimmed even more. The speed at which Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements devoured them had increased. He Chunli had once again done them a great favor. He Chunli was infuriated when she saw this. In the next instant she made her move again. Again and again she depleted the energy of her and Yang Meng's 5 divine elements. During this process, Duan Lingtian's 5 divine elements devoured their 5 divine elements faster and faster. After 2 more attacks, I'll be able to completely destroy our 5 divine elements' energy. At that time, I'll be able to destroy this formation. He Chunli thought to herself. Her eyes shone with hope. Boom. However, after another attack, before He Chunli could launch another attack, a shrill cry rang out beside her ears. Tanjin He Chunli, save me. He Chunli's expression changed drastically when she heard this cry. When He Chunli instinctively turned around, she saw the soul of the divine weapon, who was dressed in a rainbow-colored robe, killing Yang Meng with a swing of his sword. He Chunli felt goosebumps all over her body when she saw this. Among them, the one with the strongest defense was Yang Meng. However, he had been killed in just a blink of an eye. At this moment, it was not only He Chunli, but even Tanjin, who was still evenly matched with Duan Lingtian, had a horrified expression on his face when he saw Yang Meng was killed. He did not expect Yang Meng would be killed so quickly. Ah! While He Chunli and Tanjin were still in a daze from Yang Meng's death, another shrill cry rang in the air. After Yang Meng's death, Beast Hua had lost its defensive barrier and was killed by the rainbow-colored sword rays. Yang Meng's death was like a fuse that ignited Beast Hua's withering life force. In just a blink of an eye, 2 top 9-star gods of war who had dominated the 9 Serenities battlefield for many years had died. This scene shocked He Chunli and Tanjin so much that they looked at each other in horror. At the same time, when they sensed that the soul of the divine weapon had turned its attention to them, They quickly fled in different directions. They no longer dared to think about rescuing their divine element spirits. They were already very lucky to be alive. However, could they escape? Whoosh! The two of them, who only wanted to escape, had no intention of fighting in the face of Huang Er's pursuit. In the blink of an eye, Tan Jin was killed by Huang Er's sword. Then Huang Er continued to chase after He Chuanli. Everything happened so quickly that He Chuanli did not manage to escape from the Brahma Alliance's encampment. Hearing Tan Jin's unwilling cry and sensing the murderous intent behind her, He Chuanli's face turned pale. She stopped and looked at Duan Lingtian, hurriedly shouting, "Duan Lingtian, as long as you don't kill me, I, He Chuanli, am willing to serve you as your slave." Chapter 3591. When Duan Lingtian heard He Chuanli's words, he ignored her completely. However, what he did not expect was that when Huang Er heard He Chuanli's words, she stopped in her tracks. The rainbow-colored sword lights that filled the sky only revolved around He Chuanli, surrounding her. They did not attack her. At the same time, Huang Er looked at Duan Lingtian and asked softly, "Master, what she said? Do you want to consider it?" When He Chuanli heard Huang Er's words, she finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then she looked humbly at Duan Lingtian, her eyes filled with hope. At this moment, if one looked closely, they would see that He Chuanli's forehead and neck were dripping with cold sweat. She would never forget what had happened today. 4 top 9-star gods of war who were as strong as her, who stood at the pinnacle of the 9 Serenities battlefield, who were invincible in the 9 Serenities battlefield, had been killed in a single day. She was the only one left, and her life and death were in the hands of the person in front of her. When he saw Huang Er looking at him, Duan Lingtian was speechless. Did this girl think that he would be soft-hearted just because of this? Was he, Duan Lingtian, that kind of person? Huang Er, do it. Duan Lingtian transmitted his voice into Huang Er's ears. She instantly activated the rainbow-colored sword radiance and killed He Chuanli, who was still waiting for Duan Lingtian's reply. Before He Chuanli died, she was still waiting for Duan Lingtian's reply. Huang Er's attack was fast. Since then, the 5 top 9-star gods of war who had dominated the 9 Serenities battlefield for many years had all died in a single day. "Thank you for your hard work." Duan Lingtian smiled at Huang Er. She bowed respectfully to Duan Lingtian, then turned into a ray of rainbow-colored light and entered the 7 orifices exquisite sword. She returned to Duan Lingtian's body as if she had never been there. At this moment, Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze to the pine willow divine tree. To be more precise, the 5 divine elements were devouring the 5 divine elements. The 5 divine elements belonged to Yang Meng and the others, while the 5 divine elements belonged to Duan Lingtian. Moreover, among the 5 divine elements, only the chaos divine flame had entered the 8th form. The other divine elements were only in the 7th form. However, the existence of the 5 elements spirit-devouring divine formation not only suppressed the intelligence of the 5 8th form divine elements, but even their energy was forcibly taken away from them to maintain the operation of the formation. Needless to say, Duan Lingtian had spent a lot of effort in setting up the spirit formation. Moreover, the world-cleansing divine water had taken the time to prepare for a rainy day. Duan Lingtian looked at the world-cleansing divine water among the 5 divine elements as he muttered to himself, "Fortunately, Sister Water is on my side and not my opponent's side." When Duan Lingtian thought about the world-cleansing divine water's plan, he felt as though a lifetime had passed. At the same time, he could not help but feel a sense of dread. This plan had started when he left the Tidal Temple's main hall. At that time, the world-cleansing divine water had planned to gather the strength of the 5 divine elements to help him escape from the 2 god kings. At the same time, she had also told him about the plan to enter the 9 Serenities battlefield and set up the 5 elements spirit-devouring divine formation. Naturally, when the world-cleansing divine water told him about this plan, she had also reminded him that he had to be careful. He had to be confident he could deal with the 5 strongest 9-star gods of war in the 9 Serenities battlefield, since they did not have the 5 divine elements to rely on. It was also the world-cleansing divine water's plan to lure them in by using a prominent god artifact. Naturally, the world-cleansing divine water did not expect Duan Lingtian to rely on Huang Er and his own strength to deal with the 5 9-star gods of war instead of relying on his own strength to deal with the 5 divine elements. The world-cleansing divine water did not expect this day to come so early. This was because, in her opinion, no matter how high Duan Lingtian's innate talent and comprehension ability were, he would at least need a few tens of years to set up this plan. However, she did not expect Duan Lingtian to set up this plan so quickly. Moreover, he had succeeded in the end. After this, even if Sister Water and the others can't transform to the 9th form, they're not far from it. As for Senior Chaos Divine Flame, he should be able to transform to the 9th form successfully. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself as he looked at the 5 divine elements that belonged to him. At this moment, the speed at which his 5 divine elements devoured the other 5 divine elements was much faster than before. In just half a day he discovered his 5 divine elements had almost completely devoured the other 5 divine elements. Little Tian. At this moment, the world-cleansing divine water's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears as he watched the 5 divine elements shone even brighter. Sister Water? Duan Lingtian could tell the voice belonged to the world-cleansing divine water. After this battle, he became even more respectful toward the world-cleansing divine water. Why did you suddenly stop devouring Han Xian's world-cleansing divine water? As soon as the world-cleansing divine water finished speaking, Duan Lingtian discovered his 5 divine elements, the profound divine metal, the chaos divine flame, the clear heavens divine wood and the chaos divine earth, had stopped devouring the divine elements of Yang Meng and the others. What was going on? Duan Lingtian was confused. Little Tian. At the same time the world-cleansing divine water spoke again. Based on what we've devoured so far, all of us will be able to enter the peak of the 8th form. Old Huo will be able to enter the 9th form as well. As for the remaining 5 divine elements, even if the 4 of us devoured them, we won't be able to enter the 9th form. As for Old Hua, he won't need the remaining Chaos Divine Flame to enter the 9th form. We've unanimously decided to use the remaining remnants of the 5 divine elements as bait to help you break through the spatial barrier of the 9 Serenities battlefield and enter the realm of gods. Haven't you always wanted to go to the realms of gods? Once you enter the realm of gods, you'll be able to enter the realm of gods. Perhaps, one of the realms of gods will be the divine offering land that you've always wanted to visit. Naturally, the possibility of that happening isn't high. The world-cleansing divine water replied. Enter the realms of gods. Duan Lingtian held his breath when he heard the world-cleansing divine water's words. He did not expect that he would be able to enter the realm of gods in advance. Moreover, it was highly possible that he would be able to enter the divine offering land before everyone else. However, Duan Lingtian did not lose his composure. He quickly regained his composure and asked, Sister Water, are you sure it won't affect all of you if you leave the 5 divine elements behind and stop devouring them? Although it's beneficial for me to enter the realms of gods in advance, staying in the 9 Serenities battlefield or even the Devata realms won't interfere with my path to godhood. Duan Lingtian said, Moreover, the heaven and earth spirit energy in my little world is the same as the heaven and earth spirit energy in the realms of gods. It's guaranteed that my cultivation speed won't be lower than the godly spirits in the realms of gods after I become a god. Little Tian, why do you have to lie to yourself? The world-cleansing divine water said with a sigh, now that your prominent divine artifact has been exposed, let alone the fact that there are countless people in the Devata realms who want to kill you and steal your prominent divine artifact. In 300 years, when the spatial passages between the realms of gods and the Devata realms are opened, even the godly spirits in the realms of gods will know that you possess a prominent divine artifact with an artifact soul. At that time your situation will be even more difficult than it is now. Moreover, there's no lack of godly powerhouses in the 81 Devata realms. Unless you hide in the mundane realms, there's a high chance they'll find you if you continue to stay in the Devata realms even after you've become a god. Duan Lingtian fell silent when he heard the world-cleansing divine water's words. Naturally, he knew his current situation very well. It was indeed as the world-cleansing divine water had said. Moreover, we've devoured the 8 form divine elements, so we'll have to sleep for a period of time to digest and absorb them. During this time it'll be difficult for us to help you. Naturally, you can find a mundane realm to hide in, but that'll definitely affect your state of mind and your cultivation. You can't miss a single step on the path to godhood. If you have inner demons, it'll be even more difficult for you to become a god. For this reason, I think it's best for you to head to the realms of gods in advance. At the very least, once you're in the realms of gods, regardless of whether you're in the divine offering land or not, you won't have to worry about being targeted for the next 300 years. Moreover, I think 300 years in the realms of gods is better than 3,000 years in the Devata realms. Naturally, these are all my suggestions. After all, even if you're able to enter the realm battlefield in advance with our help, it'll still be extremely difficult for you to leave the realm of gods alive. In the end, it's up to you to make the decision. Duan Lingtian fell silent after listening to the world-cleansing divine water's words. The world-cleansing divine water's words struck a chord with Duan Lingtian. If Wu Hongqing, the hall master of the title temple, and Mi Xian, the patriarch of the dead spirit clan, had revealed the existence of the 5 divine elements, they would not have spread the news. However, news of the existence of a high-grade god artifact with an artifact soul would not have spread far and wide. After all, there were too many people who knew about it. Wu Hongqing and Mi Xian had concealed the existence of the 5 divine elements from Duanling Tian because they thought it would be better if fewer people knew about it. As for those who knew about his high-quality god artifact, many of them were destined to never be able to take it from him. Under such circumstances, why would they hide the fact that he possessed a high-quality god artifact with an artifact soul? Chapter 3592. The only reason the 5 divine elements were exposed was because of Wu Hongqing, the palace master of the title temple, and Mi Xian. Now that the prominent Devata artifact had been exposed, he had become the target of public criticism. Naturally, Duanling Tian could choose to escape to a mundane realm. However, just as the world-cleansing divine water had said, even if the little world in his body provided him with heaven and earth spirit energy that was similar to the heaven and earth spirit energy in the realms of gods, it would still affect his cultivation. Duanling Tian knew this very well. Otherwise, he would not have chosen to enter the 9 Serenities battlefield in the first place. He would have chosen to hide in a mundane realm. Even if he entered the netherworld battlefield because of the 5 elements spirit-devouring divine array, he could have hidden in the mundane plane and waited until he became a 9-star god of war before entering the netherworld battlefield to set up the array. He wouldn't have entered the netherworld battlefield before becoming a 9-star god of war. The reason he did not do that was because the environment in the mundane realm would limit his cultivation and development. This was also the reason the world-cleansing divine water had mentioned. Sister Water, I'll head to the realm battlefield in the realms of gods and enter the realms of gods through the realm battlefield. However, before that, I'd like to make arrangements for my family. The choice the world-cleansing divine water had mentioned was not a choice for Duanling Tian at all. In his opinion, there was only one path he could take. He would head to the realms of gods. Although it would be safe for him to hide in the mundane realm, the improvement he would receive from the realms of gods was not even comparable to the Devata realms. Cultivation was not only about innate talent, but it was also about one's state of mind. Although he could convince himself that hiding in the mundane realm was only a temporary solution, it would still affect his cultivation. Throughout his journey from the mundane realm to the Devata realms, Duanling Tian's cultivation base had improved by leaps and bounds. Apart from being lucky, he knew it was mostly due to the environment he was in. After he ascended to the Devata realms, his wife, Kerr, who was in the divine offering land, had encouraged him to cultivate diligently. I knew you would make such a choice. The world-cleansing divine water was not surprised by Duanling Tian's decision. You should settle your family first. Once you've settled them down, we'll send you through the space barrier of the 9 Serenities battlefield to the realm battlefield. After the world-cleansing divine water finished speaking, Duanling Tian left the 9 Serenities battlefield. Of course, he was the only one who knew that he had left. As for the 5 divine elements, they had entered Duanling Tian's little world. The remnants of the other 5 divine elements were also placed in his little world. As for the 5 divine elements devouring divine formation, it had been removed by Duanling Tian. After Duanling Tian left the 9 Serenities battlefield and returned to the Devata realm, he carefully teleported between several Devata realms to make sure no one was following him before he randomly chose a mundane realm to enter. While Duanling Tian was preparing to settle his family in the mundane realm, the situation in the Devata realms was not as peaceful as before. The commotion was due to the deaths of Yang Meng and the others. 5 top-notch 9-star gods of war who had dominated the netherworld battlefield and possessed the 8th form of the 5 divine elements had perished just like that. Naturally, this startled the people around them. Although no one knew about their secret, the people around them knew about it. Apart from Beast Hua, Yang Meng and the others were all reclusive people. Most people did not know about their existence. They traveled in the Devata realms under different identities. Their identities in the 9 Serenities battlefield were fake as well. However, even those who lived in seclusion still had family and elders. For example, Yang Meng was a descendant of the Titan race. The Titan race was a very ancient race. They were a race that was passed down through the union of special life forms and humans. However, many years ago, the Titan clan had offended a heavenly emperor in a Devata realm and was almost annihilated. Although they managed to survive, they lived in seclusion and did not dare to reveal their identities. After all, if their identities were exposed, they would be annihilated again. For the Titan clan, Yang Meng's appearance was their hope. Moreover, Yang Meng had also obtained the Chaos Divine Earth, one of the 5 divine elements. Moreover, the Chaos Divine Earth was in its 8th form. It was as though they could already see Yang Meng entering the realms of gods, becoming a godly venerate, and becoming a supreme powerhouse. However, he had never imagined that a trip to seize a high-grade divine artifact would cause him to perish just like that. Who killed Meng? Even if the other 4 people joined forces, they wouldn't be able to kill Meng, right? With Meng's defense and the Chaos Divine Earth's help, he should have been able to escape unscathed. The remaining members of the Titan clan gathered together to discuss Yang Meng's death. Their faces were filled with grief. They could not figure out how Yang Meng had died. Yang Meng's original name was not Yang Meng but Meng. Everyone in the Titan clan addressed him as Yang Meng. He was the one who gave himself the surname Yang. Yichuanli, Han Xian and Tan Jin had died. Their families and seniors were heartbroken. They could not figure out who had killed them and who had the ability to do so. The deaths of these people were destined to be a case without clues. Before Tan Jin died, he tried to send a message to his younger brother who was also in the 9 Serenities battlefield. However, he discovered the formation that enveloped him and the 5 divine elements prevented him from sending a message out. It was as though a special force had sealed the area. Under such circumstances, no one was able to send a message out. Among the 5 9-star gods of war who had died in Duan Lingtian's hands, the person with the most sensitive identity was none other than Beast Hua. To be more precise, his real name was Zhong Yan, not Beast Hua. Zhong Yan was a member of the Hellbird clan, a heaven-grade force that was famous in all Devata realms. To be more precise, he was a mixed blood between the Hellbird clan and the human clan. He had completely refined the Hellbird's blood essence and was a peerless genius among humans. The Hellbird clan was a demonic beast from the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. They had wreaked havoc in all the Devata realms. In the end, many powerful divine emperors from the realms of gods had stepped in to suppress the Hellbird clan. However, even so, the ferocious reputation of the Hellbird clan was still known by everyone. Moreover, the Hellbird clan had many divine emperors and divine emperors in the realms of gods. Due to this reason, the Hellbird clan lived a comfortable life in the Devata realms. No forces dared to provoke them. As a mixed blood between the Hellbird clan and the human clan, Zhong Yan was originally disliked by the Hellbird clan. However, due to his extraordinary natural talent and the acknowledgement of the chaotic divine flame that was passed down in the Hellbird clan, he had become the holy son of the Hellbird clan. His status was only inferior to the patriarch and supreme elders. The Hellbird clan saw him as their only hope. Currently, the strongest powerhouse in the Hellbird clan was only at the Divine Emperor stage. All of them felt that Zhong Yan had a high chance of breaking through to the ultimate god stage. At that time, the Hellbird clan would become a transcendent force like the Qilin clan in the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. This was the Hellbird clan's goal. However, Zhong Yan, the holy son of the Hellbird clan who was also Beast Hua, was dead. Investigate. Investigate. Regardless of who killed Zhong Yan, our Hellbird clan will exterminate his entire clan and tear them into 10,000 pieces. It doesn't matter if it's Duan Lingtian or the other 4 people. The patriarch of the Hellbird clan ordered furiously. Many titled celestial emperors from the Hellbird clan were sent to the 9 Serenities battlefield to investigate the whereabouts of Duan Lingtian and the other 4 9-star gods of war who possessed the 5 divine elements. However, their efforts were in vain. After all, the other 4 9-star gods of the Hellbird clan, Zhong Yan, who was also Beast Hua's subordinate, had also died. As for Duan Lingtian, he had also left the 9 Serenities battlefield. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of this. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had brought his family and friends to a completely unfamiliar mundane realm. Moreover, he had spent a lot of effort to find a beautiful paradise in this mundane realm. It was located on a remote island. The sea around the island was filled with demonic beasts whose strength was close to the pinnacle of the mundane realms. It was precisely because this sea was so terrifying that such a desolate and uninhabited island had appeared. Birds chirped and flowers bloomed on the island, but there were no humans. After Duan Lingtian summoned his friends and family from the little world in his body, the deserted island became livelier. With so many people on the island, the demonic beasts in the surrounding sea who could leave the sea and smelled the human aura immediately made a move to devour them. Alas, all of them were killed in the end. Throughout the entire process, only Duan Lingtian's son Duan Yantian had made a move. The blood of the demonic beasts dyed half of the island red and spread on the sea around the island. The demonic beasts in the vicinity were so frightened that they quickly left the island, afraid that the humans on the island would attack again. Father, mother, please stay here for the time being. Don't go to the Devata realm. Wait for me for 300 years. After 300 years I'll bring her back. After settling down his family, Duan Lingtian prepared to leave. Before he left, he went to look for his parents, Duan Ruffing and Li Ro. Be careful, Duan Ruffing said solemnly. However, a hint of pride could be seen in his eyes. He was proud to have such a son. Don't force yourself when you go to the realm of gods. You must be extra careful. Li Ro tried her best to persuade Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian did not tell them that he wanted to go to the realm of gods through the realm battlefield. Otherwise they would have been even more worried. Duan Lingtian told them that he wanted to go to the realm of gods. He could directly go to the realm of gods through the 9 Serenities battlefield. Chapter 3593. Apart from his parents, Duan Ruffing and Li Ro, Duan Lingtian also told his wife, Li Fei and his children that he would leave the 9 Serenities battlefield and head to the realms of gods. He did not want them to worry about him. If they knew he would have to go through the dangerous realm battlefield to head to the realms of gods, they would definitely try to stop him. However, no matter who tried to stop him, they would not be able to sway him. For this reason he decided to keep it a secret so they would not worry about him. For the next 300 years all of you will stay here and cultivate. I'll set up a formation to store some of the heaven and earth spirit energy in my little world. Duan Lingtian was also worried that his family, especially his children, would not be willing to waste their youth in the mundane realm since the heaven and earth spirit energy in the mundane realm was too weak. For this reason, before he left, he set up a formation on the island with the help of the world-cleansing divine water to transfer some of the heaven and earth spirit energy out of his little world. The entire process was so grand that it was as though he had stolen the sky and changed the earth. For a time, the entire island was shrouded in rich heaven and earth spirit energy. Little Fei, wait for me. When Duan Lingtian left, he only bid farewell to his wife, Li Fei. He didn't bid farewell to the others because parting was always sad, and he didn't want to see a group of people revealing sad emotions in front of him. After he left, he told his wife, Li Fei, to pass on the message to them in a few days. Sister Water, what should I pay attention to in the realm battlefield? Duan Lingtian asked the world-cleansing divine water as they made their way to the transporting formation in the 9 Serenities battlefield after leaving the mundane realm. You have to pay attention to everything. The world-cleansing divine water said solemnly, after entering the realm battlefield, all you have to do is leave. If you're lucky, you'll appear near the transporting formation that leads to the realm battlefield. That's the safest place for you. If you're unlucky, you'll have to look for the teleportation formation yourself. Given your strength, you'll definitely die if someone sets their eyes on you. After all, killing you won't give you any merit points. After all, you're not someone from a realm of gods who entered the planar battlefield to earn merit points. You're just someone who entered the planar battlefield by accident, Duan Lingtian explained. However, it is also possible for you to meet someone who is violent and bloodthirsty. They may attack you. There are also some people who are weak and have to be careful in the planar battlefield. After being careful for a long time, they will feel stifled in their hearts. When they see someone like you who hasn't even become a god, even if killing you doesn't give them any military merit, they might kill you to vent their emotions. Once you're in the planar battlefield, act according to the circumstances. If there's a chance to curry favor with someone else and get them to take you away from the planar battlefield, you definitely can't miss such an opportunity. Even if we lower ourselves, it's fine. You should know that there is only hope if you are alive. Lowering your head now is for the sake of raising your head better in the future. When the world-cleansing divine water reached the end of its sentence, its tone was solemn. Clearly, it was worried Duan Lingtian would still put on airs after entering the planar battlefield even though he had been in a Devata realm for a long time. Most importantly, you mustn't expose us and the prominent divine sword in your possession in the planar battlefield. If you expose us, you'll definitely die. The world-cleansing divine water's tone turned even graver. Understood. Duan Lingtian's expression turned grim as he replied. He knew this even without the world-cleansing divine water's reminder. Along the way, he had also learned about the rules of the planar battlefield from the world-cleansing divine water. People from different realms of gods could kill each other to obtain military merit points. When one's military merit points reached a certain level, one could enter a secret realm left behind by a supreme powerhouse and exchange it for treasures left behind by the supreme powerhouse. In short, there were many fortuitous encounters left behind by the supreme powerhouses in the planar battlefield. For this reason, every time the planar battlefield opened, countless people from the realms of gods would enter to obtain military merit points. Naturally, there were also those who entered to train. In short, The planar battlefield was much more terrifying than the Nine Serenities battlefield and the Purgatory battlefield. It's starting. After returning to the Nine Serenities battlefield, Duan Lingtian found a secluded place. At this time, the world-cleansing divine water and the other 4 divine elements emerged from Duan Lingtian's body. They planned to use the remaining 5 divine elements as the core of a formation to help Duan Lingtian break the spatial barrier of the Nine Serenities battlefield and send Duan Lingtian into the planar battlefield. After all, the spatial barrier between the Nine Serenities battlefield and the planar battlefield was extremely sturdy. Even those below the God Emperor realm would not be able to break it. Naturally, even if God Emperors or stronger could break it, they would not do so. After all, if they accidentally entered the Nine Serenities battlefield, their lives would be in danger. No matter what, the Nine Serenities battlefield was a derivative of the planar battlefield, and the planar battlefield was created by the ultimate powerhouses. Even if it was a derivative of the planar battlefield, the Nine Serenities battlefield and the Purgatory battlefield followed the rules of the ultimate powerhouses, and the power of the ultimate powerhouses controlled the rules. Even God Emperors would die if they entered the planar battlefield. Although ultimate gods might not die, they would be severely injured and would not be able to stay in the Nine Serenities battlefield and the Purgatory battlefield for long. For this reason, even if God Emperors or stronger from the realms of gods could break the spatial barrier between the planar battlefield and the Nine Serenities battlefield and the Purgatory battlefield, they would not do so because it would be extremely dangerous for them. The higher one's cultivation base was, the stronger one was, and the more difficult the journey would be. Therefore God Emperors valued their lives even more. Swoosh. Swoosh. Under Duan Lingtian's watchful eyes, the 5 divine elements began to burn the remains of the other 5 divine elements to activate the formation they had spent a long time setting up. Following that, a terrifying energy with a mysterious aura began to swirl in the air at an increasing speed. Although burning the remains of the 5 divine elements can temporarily break the spatial barrier, it won't last for long. I think it'll only last for 1 or 2 breaths at most. Keep an eye on it and be prepared to break through at any time. If you fail, you won't have another chance. After the world-cleansing divine water finished speaking to Duan Lingtian, it returned to Duan Lingtian's little world with the other 5 divine elements. At this moment, apart from the divine tree of life and the 5 divine elements, there were no other living beings in Duan Lingtian's little world. Even the 2 Ning dragons were freed after the Devata realm's battle of the geniuses had ended. Upon hearing the world-cleansing divine water's words, Duan Lingtian closed his little world as he stared at the swirling energy with a solemn expression on his face. He could feel the mysterious aura growing denser and denser. Although Duan Lingtian had prepared himself for this, he could not help but feel his heart palpitate when he sensed the terrifying energy. After the remains of the 5 divine elements were ignited, they were able to unleash such terrifying power through the formation. If the 5 divine elements burned while they were still in perfect condition, would they be able to create a huge hole in the Nine Serenities battlefield? While Duan Lingtian was still lost in his thoughts, he saw the swirling energy had finally torn a hole in the air. The hole grew to a diameter of 1 meter in just a blink of an eye before it began to shrink. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could feel the swirling energy weakening. Now's the time. Duan Lingtian was prepared. His eyes flashed as he transformed into a streak of purple light and entered the black hole in just a blink of an eye. A breath after he entered the black hole began to close up as though a hole had been sewn up. In the Nine Serenities battlefield, the place where Duan Lingtian had set up the 5 divine elements formation, and the place where the remains of the 5 divine elements were burned returned to normal. It was as though nothing had happened. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was shuttling through the spatial tunnel behind the black hole. As soon as Duan Lingtian entered the black hole, he felt a 5-colored energy enveloping him. It brought him through a turbulent space before it tore a hole in the air that was about half a meter in diameter and sent him in. Swoosh. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian discovered he was in another world. The 5-colored energy around the black hole that was only 100 meters in diameter began to shrink as well. In the end, the black hole disappeared. So this is the realm battlefield created when the realms of gods collided? Duan Lingtian glanced at his surroundings and discovered that he had appeared in a gloomy world. His surroundings were desolate. There were many hills that seemed like obstacles, and there were also many skeletons scattered everywhere. The ground beneath his feet was stained with a black liquid. That was none other than the dried bloodstains. Occasionally, a few black crows would fly past. Coupled with the deathly silence in the surroundings, it was eerie. Although Duan Lingtian was considered bold in the Devata realms, He did not dare to be careless in this realm battlefield. His expression was solemn. He knew this was not a Devata realm or the Nine Serenities battlefield. According to the world-cleansing divine water, those who dared to enter the realm battlefield were at least godly kings. Moreover, there were not many godly kings who dared to enter the realm battlefield since it was filled with danger. In the realm battlefield, most of the people there were at the Divine Emperor stage. The Divine Emperor stage was above godly kings. It was the cultivation base below godly emperors in the realms of gods. The most important thing now is to find a transporting formation to leave the realm battlefield. Sister Shui said that there are many military camps in the planar battlefield. The military camps are there to protect the godly beings who enter the realm battlefield. They can't use their divine energy or soul energy in the realm battlefield. Chapter 3594. Apart from that, the barracks in the realm battlefield were equipped with teleportation formations that led to the realms of gods. The barracks are divided into large and small barracks. There's only one large barracks in each realm of gods, and only those from the realms of gods can enter them. There are 100 small barracks, and those from all realms of gods can enter them. Once they enter, they won't be allowed to kill each other. Apart from that, the teleportation formations in the small barracks can send you to any of the realms of gods that collided with the realm battlefield. Duan Lingtian had learned all these from the world-cleansing divine water. Apart from that, the world-cleansing divine water had also told him that he had to rely on himself. Now that he was in the planar battlefield, he could only rely on himself. He couldn't simply open the lesser world in his body because doing so would risk exposing the divine elemental spirits and the divine tree of life. Moreover, his divine elemental spirits had to go into seclusion to digest the other divine elemental spirits. The chaos divine flame had to enter its 9th form. As for the other 5 divine elements, including the world-cleansing divine water, they had to enter their 8th form as well. Moreover, all of them could enter their 8th form. If they were interrupted midway, they would fail. For this reason, Duan Lingtian would not disturb the 5 divine elements unless it was a matter of life and death. Moreover, even if it was a matter of life and death, he would want to see if the 5 divine elements could help him. If they could not, there was no need to disturb them. Even if he died and the little world in his body was destroyed, the 5 divine elements would be able to escape into the chaotic space turbulence. However, they would not be harmed by the chaotic space turbulence. Even if they were trapped in the chaotic space turbulence, they would still be able to enter their next form. For this reason, Duan Lingtian would not disturb the 5 divine elements even if he died unless the 5 divine elements could help him overcome a crisis. After all, it was meaningless to disturb them. On the other hand, if he did not disturb them, he would be able to help them. Although the 5 divine elements had to rely on him to survive in this world and steal from the other 5 divine elements, Duan Lingtian had no other choice. However, the help they provided him was also innumerable. Duan Lingtian wasn't an ungrateful person. Harming others to benefit himself was something he wouldn't do. Whoosh! In the desolate desert, Duan Lingtian's figure swayed as he walked on the ground, using various obstacles as cover. Whether it was the hills, the mountain ridges, or the desolate stone forests, they all became his cover. Of course, advancing like this was very inefficient. However, other than this, he had no other choice. He couldn't possibly fly in the sky in a high-profile manner, right? Now he was using so many bunkers as cover to move forward. As long as the gods who passed by did not use their divine sense to search the area, it was basically impossible for them to find him with their naked eyes. However, if a deity were to use their divine sense to scan the surroundings, they would definitely be able to discover him. After all, he was only a half-step deity and had yet to ascend to godhood. His soul had yet to evolve to the level of a deity. For the rest of the journey, Duan Lingtian was on tenterhooks, his heart hanging in the air. He had no choice. If there was a food chain in the planar battlefield, then he would be at the bottom of the food chain. He could be destroyed at any time. Hopefully, I'll be able to find the army camp as soon as possible. Duan Lingtian thought to himself, as long as I can find the army camp and enter it, I'll be safe. There's a formation set up by a supreme powerhouse in the army camp to prevent anyone from attacking. Nobody will be able to do anything to me there. On the first day, Duan Lingtian did not encounter a single person. He safely passed through a large area. On the second day, he still did not encounter a single person. On the third day, Duan Lingtian encountered someone who was so fast that he could not even catch a glimpse of the person's figure. In just a blink of an eye, the person had disappeared. This person. I'm afraid he's at the Divine Emperor stage or above. Even if he isn't, he's definitely a very powerful God King. Duan Lingtian had encountered lesser God Kings before. Wu Hongqing, the temple master of the Tidal Temple, was one. However, Wu Hongqing's speed could not catch up to this person. On the fourth day he did not encounter a single person, but he did not see the army camp either. On the fifth day. On the sixth day. For an entire month, Duan Lingtian did not see the army camp. However, there were no less than 10 people who flew past him. Among them, Duan Lingtian could barely catch a glimpse of the weaker ones. The stronger ones could only catch a glimpse of their afterimages. The stronger ones could only hear the sound of something breaking through the air. During this month, Duan Lingtian could feel how insignificant he was. He even suspected that some of the people he encountered during this month had discovered his whereabouts but simply ignored him. After all, in their eyes he was like an ant. How torturous. It's been an entire month. After a month, even if Duan Lingtian did not feel tired physically, he was still mentally exhausted. If he had a safe place to rest, he felt that he could sit quietly for 2 years without thinking about anything. It was fine as long as he could rest. I hope I can find the army camp soon. Duan Lingtian continued to roam the realm battlefield. He was extremely cautious and did not dare to be careless. In the blink of an eye, another half a month passed. On this day, Duan Lingtian suddenly felt a swift gust of wind blow towards him, causing his expression to change. Not good. Almost as soon as this thought appeared in his mind, an elderly figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian. It was an old man dressed in a long green robe. He had a head of long gray hair and a kind and gentle face. Deep within his murky eyes, traces of surprise flickered. The old man stood in the air, giving Duan Lingtian the feeling that there was no one there. If not for the fact that he could see with his eyes, he would not have been able to sense the old man's existence. This made him deeply aware of how unfathomable the old man was. Greetings, senior. Without waiting for the old man to speak, Duan Lingtian hurriedly bowed to the old man while the old man was scrutinizing him. You, a demigod who has not even stepped into the divine spirit realm, actually dared to come to the realm battlefield? The old man stared at Duan Lingtian, his eyes filled with surprise. Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. Senior, I didn't mean to enter the realm battlefield. It's my bad luck that I happened to encounter two great figures fighting. Space was distorted and I was swept into the realm battlefield. These words came from Duan Lingtian of the world-cleansing divine water order. Space was distorted? The old man's eyes widened when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. You encountered two godly venerable rank experts fighting? They should be godly venerable rank experts. Duan Lingtian nodded. I heard that in the realm of gods, only godly venerable rank experts have the ability to tear space apart. No wonder you don't have the aura of a military merit token on you. So that's how you entered the realm battlefield. The old man shook his head. Generally speaking, those who entered the planar battlefield would have come from a realm of gods through a military camp. They would have a merit medallion in their possession. The merit medallion could not be kept. Moreover, the merit medallion could be used to identify one's identity. It could be used to identify one's opponent or one's own realm of gods. He had noticed earlier that the purple-clad young man in front of him did not have the aura of an identity token. Moreover, the purple-clad young man was only a demigod. Why would such a demigod appear here? He did not expect the young man to be swept into the realm battlefield because of the battle between godly venerable rank experts. Senior. Duan Lingtian looked at the old man and bowed respectfully as he said, During this past month, I was lucky enough to survive the realm battlefield, and I've been looking for the military camp. I wonder if you can send me to the military camp? Without waiting for the old man's reply, Duan Lingtian said solemnly, Senior, if you're willing to help, I, Duan Lingtian, will remember this favor in my heart and will definitely repay you generously in the future. Duan Lingtian? The old man smiled faintly. Not a bad name. However, you're just a demigod. How are you going to repay me, a medium celestial emperor? The old man shook his head and said with a smile, Forget it. It's fate that brought us together. Since I've come here out of curiosity, I'll give you a ride. With my speed, I'll be able to reach the nearest military camp in 2 days. The old man said. Thank you, senior. Duan Lingtian was overjoyed to hear the old man's words. He felt as though someone had saved his life. As the old man led him forward, Duan Lingtian asked respectfully, Senior, may I know your name, which realm of gods you're from, and which faction you're from? Young man, why are you asking so many questions? Are you really going to repay me? The old man smiled and asked with a benevolent expression. Please tell me, senior. Duan Lingtian said solemnly. It's fine if I tell you. My name is Yi Beiyuan. I'm from the profound Gangland, and I'm an elder of the Heaven Illumination sect. the old man said as he shook his head. After he finished speaking, he asked Duan Ling Tian, "What about you? Are you from the profound gangland?" "Yes," Duan Ling Tian replied. "However, I'm from a small place in the profound gangland. I haven't even heard of the Heaven Illumination sect you're from. I'm just a frog at the bottom of a well. Our Heaven Illumination sect isn't a big sect. It's normal that you haven't heard of it," Yi Beiyuan said with a smile. Yi Beiyuan said with a smile, "However, it seems like fate has brought us together. You actually came from the profound handle land as well." "Indeed, it's fate." Duan Ling Tian nodded. At the same time, he memorized Yi Beiyuan's name and the name of the sect he was from. Yi Beiyuan. Heaven Illumination sect. As long as he could leave the realm of gods with Yi Beiyuan's help and enter the realm of gods, he would definitely repay this favor in the future. To him, this was no different from a life-saving grace. 2 days later. "We're here." Yi Beiyuan's voice sounded out, and only now did Duan Ling Tian notice that in the vast wasteland ahead, there was an area that was enveloped by a layer of translucent golden light, and there were many figures moving about within it. There were also some buildings that seemed to be ancient and experienced. "Young man Ling Tian, we've arrived at the barracks. Let's part ways here." Yi Beiyuan bade farewell and prepared to leave after sending Duan Ling Tian into the barracks that was enveloped by the translucent golden light barrier. Chapter 3595. "Thank you, senior." Duan Ling Tian had a serious expression as he bowed to Yi Beiyuan. It was all thanks to the old man before him that he was able to arrive here without encountering any danger all along the way. If it wasn't for the old man, he might not have been able to arrive here alive. This kindness was greater than the heavens and he would remember it in his heart. "I hope we can meet again in the future." Yi Beiyuan smiled, then turned and left. He had a good impression of this courteous young man, and he could tell that the other party was truly grateful to him, without the slightest bit of pretense. However, he did not take the other party's previous words to heart. Even though he and the sect behind him were nothing in the profound handle land, this purple-clothed youth was only a demigod who had not even stepped into the divine spirit realm. He was still very, very far away from him, so it was almost impossible for him to help him. Therefore, he only smiled at Duan Ling Tian's promise and did not take it to heart. Duan Ling Tian sent the old man off with his eyes. When the old man's silhouette disappeared from his sight, he withdrew his gaze and studied his surroundings. At the same time, he pricked up his ears to listen to the noise in his surroundings. His appearance attracted many people's attention. After all, it was rare for a demigod to appear here. However, since a divine emperor had sent him to the military camp, many people thought that he was here to watch the show and that there was a celestial emperor protecting him along the way. "I heard that a medium god emperor died in the pilgrimage grounds not long ago. The one who killed him was a high god emperor from the Ouyang clan in the profound handle land." Along the way, Duan Ling Tian heard the discussions around him. Not only did one of the voices attract his attention, but it also attracted the attention of many people. He saw a middle-aged man talking to another person about how a high god emperor from the Ouyang clan in the profound handle land had killed a medium god emperor from the pilgrimage grounds. A medium god emperor died in the planar battlefield? Middle god lord, that was an existence even stronger than the old man who sent Duan Ling Tian over, Yi Beiyuan, but he still fell here. Duan Ling Tian could not help but feel his heart palpitate. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that he was lucky to be able to arrive at this military camp safely. At the same time, he felt even more grateful to Yi Beiyuan. Kill the god emperor? In the planar battlefield, unless there was some sort of enmity between them, experts of that level generally wouldn't kill, right? After all, if the news were to spread that the middle-level god emperor had some sort of background, the murderer would be met with fierce revenge. Another person said in surprise. The god emperor who died was from the reincarnation sect of the pilgrimage grounds. The middle-aged man who had spoken before continued. Reincarnation sect? Upon hearing his words, many people felt relieved. So he's from the reincarnation sect. That's not surprising. It is said that 400 years ago, the reincarnation sect had a god emperor who was killed by the Ouyang family of the Shengang land. Now the Ouyang family is taking revenge. It seems like the reincarnation sect and the Ouyang family are at odds with each other. It'll be interesting to watch if they fight. Amidst the discussions of the crowd, Duan Ling Tian obtained the information he wanted to know the most after arriving at the military camp. The two realms of the gods that had collided and formed the planar battlefield that he was in now were two realms of the gods that he had never heard of before. One was the Shengang land and the other was the pilgrimage grounds. It seems like I'll have to wait 300 years before I can go to the world of divine remains. Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart. I'll cultivate in one of the realms of the gods for the next 300 years. I'll strive to have the strength to bring Ke away from the Xia family and the world of divine remains after 300 years. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone brightly. Although it was more difficult than ascending to the heavens, he still set this goal. 300 years. Ke, I'll come and get you after 300 years. Duan Lingtian promised inwardly. Along the way, Duan Lingtian, who had not even entered the godly spirit stage, had attracted many people's attention. Some even wanted to kill a weakling like him to show off their strength. However, in the military camp of the realm battlefield, no one could use their strength to communicate with the laws of profundities. Duan Lingtian was no exception. Although the energy in his body was not divine energy, but celestial origin energy that possessed the characteristics of divine energy, he discovered that he was unable to utilize the celestial origin energy in his body after entering the military camp. An invisible force suppressed the entire military camp. Although he could move freely in the military camp, his celestial origin energy and comprehension of the laws of profundities were suppressed. He could not even use the Tao of control. This is the work of a supreme powerhouse? Duan Lingtian was shocked. After asking for directions, he arrived at the transportation formation that would lead him to the mystic Handle land in a realm of gods. Among the many military camps in the realm battlefield, one could choose to be transported to two realms of gods, the mystic Handle land and the pilgrimage grounds. However, due to Yi Beiyuan, who had brought Duan Lingtian to the military camp, Duan Lingtian chose to enter the mystic Handle land. Duan Lingtian would always remember Yi Beiyuan's favor. In the mystic Handle land, it would be easier for him to return the favor in the future. Swoosh. The transportation formation in the military camp was casually set up by a supreme powerhouse. It did not require any divine stones to operate. Therefore, when Duan Lingtian stepped into the transportation formation that would lead him to the mystic Handle land, a force enveloped him and sent him out. In the planar battlefield, apart from the teleportation formations in the two major military camps, the teleportation formations in the other 100 minor military camps were all indiscriminately teleported to different planes of gods. The transportation formation would send you to the realms of gods you wanted to go to. However, the destination was completely random. Although it was random, the transportation formation would not send you to any place that was covered by the transportation formation. It would not even send you to the vicinity of the transportation formation. The transportation formation would avoid special places so that you would not be executed for trespassing. In the realms of gods, there were many forces that would kill trespassers without mercy. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian found himself in a forest. He leaped into the air and looked down. He discovered that he was in a mountain range. The surroundings were empty and there were no signs of humans. At the same time, Duan Lingtian tried to sense the surrounding spiritual energy. It was not difficult to confirm that he had arrived at the mystic Handle land in a realm of gods. The spiritual energy here was no different from the spiritual energy in the realm of gods. Of course, although the spiritual energy in the realms of gods was the same as the spiritual energy in his body, there were many places in the realms of gods where the spiritual energy was denser. Those places were the places where divine stones and divine crystals were located. Back when he was in the Devata realms, Duan Lingtian had learned about the existence of divine stones and divine crystals. They were used by the gods in the realms of gods to cultivate, set up formations and trade. They were similar to the divine stones and divine crystals in the Devata realms. For example, the ruins of the realms of gods he had encountered previously had divine stones and divine crystals. However, when the realms of gods were reduced to ruins, all the divine stones and divine crystals had been destroyed. Naturally, even if the divine stones and divine crystals were still there, with his strength at that time, it was impossible for him to mine them. In fact, even with his current strength, he did not have the ability to mine them. If one wished to excavate a divine stone mine, one would need to possess the strength of a lesser deity at the very least. On the other hand, if one wished to excavate a divine crystal mine, one would need to possess the strength of a lesser deity at the very least. Otherwise, one would not be able to excavate divine stones and divine crystals from the mine. When they were in the Devata realms, the divine crystals that Huan gave Duan Lingtian were similar to the divine crystals in the realms of gods. They were more valuable than divine stones. In the Devata realms, due to the environment, divine stones could not be formed. Although divine crystals could be formed, they were extremely rare. In the realms of gods, divine crystals are bigger than divine stones. 1 or 2 units of divine crystals is equivalent to 100 taels of divine stones. Unlike the Devata realms, the divine stones and divine crystals in the realms of gods were of the same quality. They were almost the same. However, the difference in value between the same weight and the divine stones was 100 times greater. 1 or 2 divine crystals was equivalent to 100 taels of divine stones. In the realms of gods, divine stone mines are common, but large ones are usually occupied by powerful forces. As for divine crystal mines, even small ones are occupied by powerful forces. Large ones are usually occupied by super forces. Duanling Tian had heard about the realms of gods from the world-cleansing divine water, so he knew a thing or two about the realms of gods. Since I've come to the realm of gods, the biggest advantage I have is divine stones and divine crystals. Although I came across the ruins of a realm of gods earlier, I didn't find any divine stones or divine crystals. It's obvious that the ruins were destroyed along with the realm of gods. Even the spatial rings of the gods who died in the ruins were destroyed along with the ruins. For this reason, Duanling Tian did not find a single divine stone or divine crystal when he entered the ruins of a realm of gods. As for the divine crystal that Huaner gave him, it had long been used up. The most important thing now is to find a place with people. The first step is to integrate into the realm of gods and find a way to obtain divine stones and divine crystals to aid my cultivation. Moreover, Sister Shui said there are many divine fruits and divine pills in the realms of gods that can increase one's cultivation speed. In fact, if a demigod wants to break through to the godhood realm, there are divine pills that can help. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as he thought about the world-cleansing divine water's words. After a short while, Duan Lingtian flew in a random direction. His figure flashed as he passed through the continuous mountain range. In the end, after half a month, he finally saw 2 figures. There's someone here. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he saw the 2 figures. He quickly followed the 2 figures, thinking that they could bring him to a place where humans gathered. Once he arrived at a place where humans gathered, he would be able to begin cultivating in the realm of gods. Chapter 3596. The realms of gods were not as big as the Devata realms. However, most of the Devata realms were remote and barren. Although there were barren lands in the realms of gods, the proportion of them was very small. For example, Duanling Tian was currently in a barren land in the eastern polar region of the Mystic Gang land. This area was also known as the Eastern Ridge. The Eastern Ridge referred to a mountain ridge. As Duanling Tian walked, he could see lush green mountain ranges beneath his feet. There were many villages and towns in the Eastern Ridge. Duanling Tian followed the 2 men in front of him and soon arrived at a village situated in the middle of a mountain range. The village was so large that one could not see the end of it. The village was surrounded by mountains and the terrain was steep. From the beginning until the end, the 2 men in front of him did not notice Duanling Tian was following them. The middle-aged man is a 3-talent celestial emperor. The young man next to him is a 1 basic celestial emperor. When Duanling Tian was tailing the duo, he had extended his divine consciousness to probe their cultivation bases. Both of them were celestial emperors. One was a 1 basic celestial emperor while the other was a 3-talent celestial emperor. Since their cultivation bases were much lower than his, they did not notice his probing. The Duan clan. When Duanling Tian followed the 2 of them to the outside of the village, he saw a 5 or 6 meter tall stone tablet that stood at the entrance of the village, and the 3 words Duan Clan Village were written neatly on it. Duan? At this moment, the first thought that appeared in Duanling Tian's mind was fate. He did not expect the first human settlement in the Mystic Gang land in the realms of gods would be a place called the Duan clan. Since it was the Duan clan, the villagers here must have the surname Duan. Just when the 2 people in front were about to enter the village, a figure silently flashed out from the village and went to greet the 2 people in front. However, his gaze went past the 2 people and descended onto Duanling Tian. Before the person showed up, Duanling Tian had already sensed the 10 directions Celestial Emperor's divine sense approaching him. Clearly, it was the old man who had suddenly appeared before him. The old man wore a light gray long robe. He had a thin figure and a face that seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life. Currently, his eyes that looked at Duanling Tian revealed waves of dread. Grandpa Qin? When the middle-aged man and the young man saw the old man, they couldn't help but be startled. Grandpa Qin, why did you come out? The old man before them was the 3rd villa master of the Duan clan manor. His name was Duan Qin, and he was one of the 4 strongest people in the Duan clan manor. He was like a guardian of the Duan clan manor. Come out and greet the guests. The old man, who was the patriarch of the Duan clan, Duan Qin, said calmly. Upon hearing his words and sensing his gaze, the middle-aged man and the young man who were tailing Duanling Tian widened their eyes in unison. When they turned around, they discovered a young man was tailing them. The young man was dressed in a purple robe. He was handsome and had an extraordinary aura. Currently, he was looking at Duan Qing, the villa master of the Duan clan manor. When did you follow us? The young man who was tailing Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Lingtian warily. The fact that Duan Lingtian was tailing them without them noticing meant that Duan Lingtian was stronger than them. Although the middle-aged man did not say anything, his eyes were filled with hostility when he looked at Duan Lingtian. Please don't misunderstand, I have no ill intentions. Duan Lingtian shook his head when he saw the three men looking at him warily. It was an accident that I followed you here. Then Duan Lingtian asked the three men, is this still the pilgrimage grounds? The pilgrimage grounds was the realm of gods that had collided with the profound handle land and formed the realm battlefield. The pilgrimage grounds? Duan Qing frowned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. This is the profound handle land, not the pilgrimage grounds. You're from the pilgrimage grounds? Although Duan Lingtian was at the bottom of the rankings in the profound handle land, he had heard of the pilgrimage grounds. However, Duan Lingtian had heard of the pilgrimage grounds before. Moreover, he knew that the pilgrimage grounds was another realm of gods that had collided with the mystic gang land. The profound handle land? Duan Lingtian smiled wryly when he heard Duan Qing's question. I didn't expect that the battle between the two powerhouses would tear open space and cause me to be sucked into the spatial tear and arrive at the profound handle land. With my cultivation base, when will I be able to return? Duan Lingtian gave an excuse similar to the one Yi Bei Yuan had given him in the realm battlefield. He did not tell Duan Lingtian that he was from a Devata realm. This was something the world-cleansing divine water had warned him about. If he told them he was from a Devata realm, it might bring him unnecessary trouble. Therefore, it was better for him to say he was from another realm of gods, and coincidentally, the realm battlefield was formed. No one would suspect anything if he told them he was from another realm of gods. Tear open space? Duan Qing inhaled sharply when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. According to what I read in some ancient books, one has to be at the ultimate god stage to tear open space in the realms of gods. Ultimate god. The two men from the Duan clan who were tailing Duan Lingtian were shocked when they heard Duan Qing's words. Ultimate gods were the most powerful beings in the realms of gods. They were the most powerful beings below the supreme powerhouses. After I was sucked into the tear in space, I fainted. When I woke up, I was in a mountain range. I wandered around for many days, but I didn't see anyone. I followed them, Duan Lingtian said with a wry smile on his face as he looked at the two men in front of Duan Qing. I see. I've misunderstood you, sir. Duan Qing's expression softened slightly when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. What do you plan to do next? I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to return to the pilgrimage grounds, right? Naturally, it won't be easy. Duan Lingtian nodded. Now that the realm battlefield has opened, not only are the spatial passages between the realms of gods and Devata realms closed, but even the spatial passages between the realms of gods have been closed. There's only one way to return to the realms of gods, and that's through the realm battlefield. However, with my strength, I'll only be cannon fodder in the realm battlefield. I'm afraid I'll die in the realm battlefield before I can return to the pilgrimage grounds. When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, he shook his head and sighed. Sir, I'm Duan Qing, the third mansion master of the Duan clan. May I know your name? After learning about Duan Lingtian's background, Duan Qing was no longer as wary as before. In his opinion, even if a 10-direction celestial emperor wanted to harm the Duan clan, he would not be able to harm them. The Duan clan once had a god-level powerhouse who was a higher god-level powerhouse. Now that the Duan clan's defensive formation was activated, even a lesser god-level powerhouse would be severely injured. Once the defensive formation was activated, anyone who was not a god-level powerhouse would definitely die. What a coincidence. My name is Duan Lingtian. I have the same surname as the person from the Duan clan. Duan Lingtian smiled. What a coincidence. Duan Qing's eyes lit up when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then he said enthusiastically, Sir, since you don't know where to go, you can stay in the Duan clan for the time being. It won't be too late for you to leave when you decide on your next step. In that case, thank you, Mansion Master. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as he thanked Duan Qing. He did not even bother with pleasantries since he needed a place to stay for the time being. After that, he would gather information about his surroundings and decide on his next step. Since I'm in a realm of gods, I must make plans to improve my cultivation base as soon as possible. Currently, Duan Lingtian urgently needed to improve his cultivation base. He did not need to comprehend any profundity since he had the supreme powerhouse divinity to rely on. As for the space sword Dao and control Dao, that was up to fate. Brother Ling Tian, you're too kind. Duan Qing shook his head and smiled. Then he led Duan Ling Tian into the Duan clan. Through Duan Qing's introduction, Duan Ling Tian learned the names of the two men he was tailing. The middle-aged man was Duan Qiwen. The young man was Duan Lang. Both of them were from the Duan clan. Our Duan clan is divided into the Eastern clan, Western clan, Southern clan and Northern clan. Apart from being the third mansion master of the Duan clan, I'm also the mansion master of the Southern clan. Duan Qing explained to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian was enlightened. At the same time, he learned from Duan Qing that the entrance to the Duan clan's Southern clan was located in the south. There were 4 other entrances to the Duan clan's Northern clan, Western clan, and Eastern clan that were located in the north, west and east respectively. After entering the Duan clan's Southern clan's entrance, they saw a vast expanse of land. Outside they could only see a few scattered buildings. However, that was not the case. It was obvious that was an illusion created by a formation. After passing through the entrance, they could finally see the situation inside. There were many people gathered in the vast expanse of land. Some were sparring, some were chatting and some were playing with children. When Duan Ling Tian and Duan Qing entered the Southern clan's entrance, the people who saw them turned around and greeted Duan Qing respectfully. Grandfather Qing. Uncle Qing. Uncle Qing. Based on the enthusiasm of these people, it was clear that Duan Qing, the mansion master of the Duan clan's Southern clan, was highly respected in the Southern clan. Duan Lang, you brat, you're finally willing to come back. If you still didn't come back, your father would have broken your legs. Don't tell me you've forgotten about your engagement? You'll be marrying the daughter of the second mansion master of Tai Clan Manor in another month's time. Soon after, a middle-aged man scolded with a smile on his face as he looked at Duan Ling Tian, who was standing behind Duan Qing and Duan Lang. Upon hearing this, Duan Qing scratched the back of his head awkwardly. I wanted to break through to the Celestial Emperor stage before coming back. If you break through to the Celestial Emperor stage and get married, you'll bring honor to the Duan clan, right? Chapter 3597. Although the Duan clan was only a village, it was filled with celestial emperors, celestial lords and celestial kings. Even some of the children had immortal cultivation bases. Duan Ling Tian deduced from the side. In the realms of gods, a child was born with the body of a celestial. Even when the child was still an infant, the mother had to use her power to suppress the child's strength to prevent the child from hurting the mother. Since Duan Ling Tian claimed to be from the pilgrimage grounds in another realm of gods, he could not reveal that he did not know about this. He could only speculate. The Duan clan has been living in the endless mountains for generations and is self-sufficient. There are all kinds of celestial herbs and celestial fruits in the Duan clan manor. That's how the Duan clan manor earns divine stones to aid their cultivation. After ascending to godhood, the Duan clan members had to pay the price of divine stones to borrow cultivation techniques from the outside world. Not only that, they were not allowed to impart the cultivation techniques to outsiders because they had to swear a heart demon blood oath. That's a blood oath made by a supreme expert to the planes of gods. Not even an ultimate god could violate it. Once someone violates the oath, the supreme expert will sense it. Then the supreme expert's subordinates will hunt down the person who violates the heart demon blood oath. Even if the person escapes from the realms of gods to the Devata realms or the mundane realms, he'll still die. Anyone who swears a heart demon blood oath in the realms of gods will be marked. Unless one becomes a supreme expert, even an ultimate god can't remove the mark. After staying in the Duan clan manor for some time, Duan Ling Tian had gained a better understanding of the Duan clan and the realms of gods. This included the heart demon blood oath. The heart demon blood oath was similar to the lightning penalty oath in the mundane realms. However, it was still inferior to the lightning penalty oath. The lightning penalty was to kill the person who violated the oath. On the other hand, the supreme expert's subordinates would have to kill the person who violated the oath. If an ultimate god violated the heart demon blood oath, the supreme expert would personally kill the person who violated the oath. For this reason, the heart demon blood oath was a terrifying thing in the realms of gods. Naturally, this did not include the supreme experts. The heart demon blood oath was useless against supreme experts. The realms of gods are created by supreme powerhouses. To him, a realms of gods is no different from a minor world in his body. In fact, the realms of gods might be formed from the minor world in his body. Thinking back to what the world-cleansing divine water had told him before, Duanling Tian felt that it was very possible. Of course, even the world-cleansing divine water was not certain. I didn't expect there to be so many celestial emperors in such a small village in the realm of gods. There are even 10 directions celestial emperors and gods. Although Duanling Tian had been in the Duan clan manor for some time, he still found it hard to believe. After all, this was something unimaginable in the Devata realms. How could a small village that was considered the lowest level in the realms of gods have such a strong foundation? Although Duanling Tian found it hard to believe, he kept telling himself that the realms of gods were different from the Devata realms. Speaking of cultivation methods, I have a cultivation method my master taught me. As long as I have enough talent and comprehension, I'll be able to cultivate all the way to the ultimate god stage. After arriving in the realms of gods, Duanling Tian realized the importance of cultivation methods in the realms of gods. In the realms of gods, cultivation methods that could allow one to cultivate all the way to the lesser deity stage were commonplace in the Devata realms. Even a small village like the Duan clan manor had such a cultivation method. However, the cultivation methods above that were extremely valuable. One would need to borrow divine stones to read them. Naturally, this was only true for the people in the Duan clan manor. The powerful forces in the realms of gods had cultivation methods that could be cultivated up to the level of an intermediate god. Only the top forces in the realms of gods had cultivation methods that could be cultivated up to the level of an intermediate god. If one wanted to cultivate to the ultimate god stage, one would either have to borrow a cultivation method from a supreme expert or have a relationship with a supreme expert. Otherwise, one could only rely on one's talent and comprehension. It was not impossible to become an ultimate god without an ultimate god cultivation method. It was just more difficult. Apart from that, in the realms of gods, even low-grade divine weapons without weapon spirits are extremely expensive. They require a large number of divine stones to exchange for them. Of course, that's only true for the Duan clan. The Duan clan manor has been passed down for many years. Currently, there's only one divine weapon in the manor, and it's in the hands of the Grand Mansion Master. The first manor head of the Duan family manor was also the East manor head of the Duan family manor. At the same time, he was also the strongest person in the Duan family manor. Currently, he was a mysterious existence in the Duan family manor. Usually, the matters of the East manor were handled by someone he appointed. As for the Grand Mansion Master, no one knew if he was still in the Duan clan manor or had left. However, many people in the Duan clan manor suspected that he had attained godhood. There are many villages like the Duan clan manor in the Endless Mountains. For example, the Tai clan manor is a village similar to the Duan clan manor. It's the closest village to the Duan clan manor. Apart from the Zhao manor and the Tai clan manor, there are more than 10 villages of similar size in the Endless Mountains. Apart from that, there are also some small villages. After arriving at the Duan clan manor, although Duanling Tian had been cultivating, most of his attention was not on cultivation. He was eager to understand the situation around him and see how he could maximize his time. After all, he only had 300 years left. After 300 years, regardless of his achievements, he would have to go to the divine offering land and bring his wife, Ker, away. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, it had been a month since Duanling Tian had arrived at the Duan clan manor. During this 1 month, Duanling Tian had learned a lot of things. At the same time, he planned to leave the Duan clan manor and head to the city closest to the Endless Mountains. The people in the Endless Mountains had to go there if they wanted to borrow god-grade cultivation methods. In that city there were many god-grade cultivators. Apart from having a deep foundation in that city, the forces that were rooted in that city also had many god-grade cultivators. The reason Duanling Tian had not left yet was because he planned to leave after attending Duanlang's wedding ceremony. Duanlang was one of the 2 people he had followed to the Duan clan manor a month ago. During this 1 month, Duanling Tian had been instructed by Duan Qing, the villa master of the Duan clan manor's southern villa, to come to Duanling Tian's place and provide him with various conveniences. After a few visits, Duanling Tian had become familiar with Duanlang. During this process, Duanlang had also invited him to attend his wedding. Duanling Tian had agreed. For this reason, he planned to leave after attending Duanlang's wedding ceremony. I'll give him an emperor-grade celestial weapon to congratulate him on his wedding. Duanling Tian pondered for a moment before he decided to give Duanlang an emperor-grade celestial weapon. Emperor-grade celestial weapons were considered rare in the Endless Mountains. At the very least, there were no more than 10 emperor-grade celestial weapons in the southern villa. As for emperor-grade celestial weapons with weapon spirits, there was only one emperor-grade celestial weapon with weapon spirits. It was in the possession of Duan Qing, the villa master of the southern villa. Naturally, Duan Lingtian only planned to give Duan Lang an Emperor-grade celestial weapon without weapon spirits. Although he had obtained an Emperor-grade celestial weapon with weapon spirits from the 9-star gods of war he had killed in the 9-star battlefield, he did not plan to give it to Duan Lang. He knew it would only bring disaster to Duan Lang. A man's wealth was his fault. The next day was the day of Duan Lang's wedding. Early in the morning, Duan Lingtian heard the commotion outside his door. When he opened the door, he saw the entire southern villa decorated with lanterns and colored banners. It was bustling with noise and excitement. A group of children was running around everywhere as though they had regained their wild nature. Most of the adults in the southern villa were busy preparing for Duan Lang's wedding. Nobody cared about the children at all. The wedding ceremony was organized by the Duan clan. Duan Lang did not even need to go to the Tai clan village to pick up the bride. He could only wait for the people from the Tai clan village to bring the bride to him. Duan Lang, congratulations on your wedding. This is the wedding ceremony I prepared for you. Duan Lingtian walked to the entrance of the Tai clan village's southern villa and handed the spatial ring to Duan Lang with a smile on his face. However, Duan Lang shook his head and said, "Brother Lingtian, I'm already very happy that you're willing to stay for my wedding ceremony. I can't accept this gift." He had heard about Duan Lingtian's intention to leave the Duan clan village from Duan Lingtian, so he knew about it earlier than anyone else. "Brother Lingtian, you're leaving?" As the Duan clan village's southern villa's villa lord, Duan Qing was also present. After all, the Tai clan village's second villa lord's daughter was getting married this time. According to the rules, the second villa lord of the Tai clan village would definitely come as well, so he naturally had to come out and welcome him. Otherwise it would be rude and he would be gossiped about by others. "Yes, I'm preparing to leave after Duan Lang's wedding ceremony ends." Duan Lingtian smiled and nodded. "I'm indebted to Villa Lord for taking me in this past month. I'm extremely grateful. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely repay you." "Brother Lingtian, you're too polite." Duan Qing lightly shook his head. "This is only a small matter. Moreover, Brother Lingtian, you didn't stay in our Duan clan village for nothing during this past month. You also helped us hunt demon beasts. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid many people from our Duan clan village would have been injured or killed during the previous hunt. 10 days ago the people from the Duan clan village went hunting. Due to bad luck, they encountered a powerful celestial emperor-grade demon beast. Fortunately, Duan Lingtian went out with Duan Lang to get some fresh air. Otherwise, many people from the Duan clan village would have been injured or killed. That demon beast had to be sent to the Duan clan village for reinforcements before they could kill it. In the time it took for them to return, many people from the Duan clan village would have been killed by the demon beast. However, everything was different now that Duan Lingtian was present. Duan Lingtian casually slapped the demon beast to death. Chapter 3598. The demon beasts in the realms of gods were real demon beasts. In the realms of gods, only mutant beasts that were not celestial beasts were considered demon beasts. However, in the realms of gods, whether it was celestial beasts or divine beasts, all of them possessed intelligence and could transform into humans. However, there were some mutant beasts in the realms of gods that did not possess intelligence. In the Devata realms, these mutant beasts were considered celestial beasts without intelligence. However, in the realms of gods, there were mutant beasts without intelligence who had broken through to the godly spirit stage or even higher. In the realms of gods, mutant beasts without intelligence are also called demon beasts. Only mutant beasts that can transform into humans are called celestial beasts or divine beasts. The world-cleansing divine water had told Duan Lingtian about this long ago. Therefore, Duan Lingtian was already aware of this. Based on the world-cleansing divine water's words, she suspected that the mutant beasts in the realms of gods were intentionally thrown into the realms of gods by supreme powerhouses so that they could cultivate in the realms of gods to maintain the balance of the realms of gods. It was said that the strongest mutant beasts in the realms of gods had the strength of a god emperor or ultimate god. Of course, when one's strength reached the level of an emperor god or ultimate god, even a demonic beast without spiritual intelligence would develop a certain level of spiritual intelligence. After all, the cultivation level of an emperor god or ultimate god was not something that could be achieved purely by instinct. Once a mutant beast gained intelligence, it would not be difficult for them to transform into humans. The realms of gods might be formed from the little worlds of supreme powerhouses. The mutant beasts in the realms of gods might be thrown into the realms of gods by supreme powerhouses to maintain the balance of the realms of gods. After learning about this, Duan Lingtian gained a deeper understanding of how powerful and terrifying supreme powerhouses were. There were many powerhouses in the realms of gods. The strongest were ultimate gods while the weakest were celestials. However, the realms of gods where these powerhouses lived were merely the little worlds of supreme powerhouses. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian thought of his own little world. Although his little world was filled with heaven and earth spiritual energy similar to the divine tree of life in the realms of gods, it was nothing compared to the realms of gods. If the plains of gods were compared to the vast ocean, then Duan Lingtian's minor world was just a drop in the ocean. All good things must come to an end. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Qing, whose gaze was complicated. It was obvious that Duan Qing didn't want him to leave. He smiled and said, "Manor head, if I can't survive there in the future, I might return to the Duan Manor." Duan Qing's expression turned solemn. "Brother Lingtian, if you return, my Duan family's southern manor will naturally welcome you. However, I'm afraid that once Brother Lingtian leaves, it'll be almost impossible for you to return to our Duan clan manor in the future." Duan Qing had never fought with Duan Lingtian before. However, based on the words of the Duan clan member who witnessed Duan Lingtian killing the demon beast with his own 2 eyes, Duan Lingtian's strength was absolutely stronger than him. A person like Duan Lingtian could easily join a force even if he went to the city. It was a waste of talent for him to stay in the Duan clan manor. At this moment, a loud voice sounded from outside the manor, "The people from the Tai clan manor are here." Immediately, everyone's gazes shifted to the entrance. At this moment, Duan Lingtian and Duan Qing stopped chatting. However, Duan Lingtian only glanced at the entrance of the Duan clan manor before he stuffed the spatial ring in his hand into Duan Lang's hand. "Duan Lingtian, if you don't accept my gift, it means that you don't consider me, Duan Lingtian, as a friend." "Brother Lingtian." Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. Duan Lang smiled bitterly and could only accept it. "After my wedding ceremony is over, we'll have a private drink before you leave. We'll talk about it when you're free." Duan Lingtian smiled. "I'm afraid that by then, you'll have fallen into a woman's arms and won't be able to extricate yourself." "Brother Lingtian, don't worry. I, Duan Lang, am not a man who forgets his friends for a woman," Duan Lang said confidently. "Alright, the bride is here." Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. At the same time he saw a wedding procession walk in from outside the door. They were all wearing bright red robes and there was a sedan in the middle. It looked similar to the wedding ceremony on Earth. However, Duan Lingtian soon realized that many people in the Duan clan manor were frowning, including Duan Qing and Duan Lang. "What's going on? Isn't that the 4th manor head of the Tai clan manor, Tai Heng? Why is Tai Heng here? Could it be that he's here on behalf of the 2nd manor head? That doesn't make sense. Even if the 2nd manor head is busy and can't make it, he should let someone from his branch take his place. He shouldn't let the 4th manor head come. They're from different branches in the Tai clan manor. No matter what, he shouldn't be here." When the whispers of the people in the Duan clan manor reached Duan Lingtian's ears, he finally understood why the people in the Duan clan manor were frowning. It was because the person who came was not the 2nd manor head of the Tai clan manor. It could even be said that he was not from the 2nd manor head of the Tai clan manor. The person leading the group was the 4th manor head of the Tai clan manor. He was the leader of another branch of the Tai clan manor. Just like how Duan Qing was the leader of the southern manor branch of the Duan clan manor, the 2nd manor head of the Tai clan manor was the leader of one of the branches of the Tai clan manor. The 4th manor head of the Tai clan manor led another branch of the Tai clan manor. Although they were related by blood, it was already very thin. In fact, during the time that Duan Lingtian was in the Duan clan manor, he knew that the various large villages in the Endless Mountains did not interact much with each other. It was only when there was a problem that a branch could not solve or a threat to one of the branches that the various branches would unite to face the external threat. Usually they each did their own thing and rarely interacted with each other. Under such a system, the 2nd manor head of the Tai clan manor who should have come did not come. Instead, the 4th manor head of the Tai clan manor came. At this moment, even Duan Lingtian felt that something was not right. "Tai Heng, why are you here?" Duan Qing, the manor head of the southern manor, asked with a frown on his face when he saw Tai Heng, the 4th manor head of the Tai clan manor, leading a group of people from the Tai clan manor into the southern manor. Tai Heng was a middle-aged man with a curly beard. He was tall and muscular. He was dressed in a brocade robe and was toying with 2 jade beads in his hands. He looked like a nouveau riche. Tai Heng grinned when he heard Duan Qing's question. "Villa Master Duan Qing, from today onwards, my Tai clan village's 4th branch and your Duan clan village's southern clan village are one family. In the future, when my daughter marries your southern clan's proud son, Duan Lang, I hope your southern clan will take care of me. Duan Lang was the strongest person among the younger generation in the Duan clan manor. He was not even 3,000 years old, but he had already become a one basic celestial emperor. In the realms of gods, those who were younger than 1,000 years old were considered young. After all, life in the realms of gods was endless once they were born. Moreover, it took time for them to grow. A single closed-door cultivation session could take up to 100 years. Those who were older than 1,000 years old and younger than 3,000 years old were considered young. "Daughter, why aren't you coming out to greet manor head Duan Qing?" Duan Qing's expression changed drastically when he heard Tai Heng's words. Was she not the daughter of the second manor head of Tai clan manor? How did she become the daughter of the fourth manor head of Tai clan manor? Moreover, the fourth manor head of Tai clan manor only had one daughter, right? Duan Qing's scalp went numb when he recalled the reputation of the fourth manor head of Tai clan manor's only daughter. At the same time he was furious. Did the Tai clan manor think the Duan clan manor was a pushover? How dare they treat the southern manor like monkeys? "Yes, father." A hoarse voice rang in the air as the bridal sedan shook violently. Then a huge figure walked out of the bridal sedan. It was a fat woman who was 1.8 meters tall and had a waist circumference of 1.8 meters. She struggled to get out of the bridal sedan before she walked up to Tai Heng and bowed at Duan Qing with a smile on her face. "Greetings, manor head Duan Qing." Tai Lan Yu was the only daughter of Tai Heng, the fourth manor head of Tai clan manor. When she smiled, the fat on her face squeezed her eyes. "No, I don't want to marry you. I want to marry the daughter of your Tai clan manor's second manor head, Tai Yu." While the group of people from the Duan clan were completely stunned by the scene in front of them, Duan Lang, the person involved, had already stared at Tai Lan Yu with a flushed face as he explosively shouted, "Other than Tai Yu, I will not marry anyone else." "Kid, what did you say?" Tai Heng's expression changed as he stared at Duan Lang and asked in a deep voice. Facing Tai Heng's gaze, although Duan Lang was a little afraid, he still said unyieldingly, "Manor head Tai Heng, I said it very clearly. Today I will only marry Tai Yu and no other woman." At this time, Tai Lan Yu no longer had the courtesy from before. She narrowed her small eyes and looked at Duan Lang. She snorted coldly and said, "Kid, do you think I want to marry you? What? You don't like me? However, I'm afraid this marriage is not something you can decide." When Tai Lan Yu reached the end of her sentence, she raised her head proudly and looked at Duan Lang with disdain. At this time, Tai Heng took 2 steps forward and walked to Duan Qing's side. He said a few words to him. Duan Qing's expression changed slightly at the beginning and became as pale as a sheet of white paper. Moreover, if one looked closely, one would be able to see that his body was trembling. "Duan Lang." At the same time, Duan Qing looked at Duan Lang and said in a deep voice, "Don't talk nonsense. Wait for me to bring your father here and see his decision." After he finished speaking, Duan Qing left in a hurry without waiting for Duan Lang's reply. He personally went to look for Duan Lang's father. As the person involved, Duan Lang could not help but be stunned when he saw this scene. At the same time, he felt that it was completely unnecessary because he was the main character of this marriage. If he did not want to get married, no one could force him. Looks like it's not that simple. Duan Lingtian saw the scene of Tai Heng talking to Duan Qing. He also saw the change in Duan Qing's expression. However, he was also very curious. What did Tai Heng, the fourth manor head of Tai clan manor, say to the third manor head of Duan clan manor? It actually made Duan Qing react this way. Chapter 3599. Duan Lang's father was called Duan Yidao. His strength in the Duan clan manor's southern manor was second only to the manor master, Duan Qing. He was also the best candidate for the next manor master of the Duan clan manor's southern manor. During the days he was in the Duan clan manor, Duan Lingtian had met Duan Yidao once because of Duan Lang. He knew that Duan Yidao was a forthright man who was very popular in the Duan clan manor. Today was the day of Duan Lang's wedding. According to the customs of the Duan clan manor, Duan Yidao, as the father, did not need to come out to welcome the bride. What he needed to do was to stay at home and wait for the bride and groom to bow to him. Originally, today was a joyous day for Duan Yidao because his only son, Duan Lang, was getting married. To a father, perhaps only on the day his son and daughter got married would he feel that his son and daughter had grown up. Uncle Yidao is here. Uncle Yidao's expression doesn't look too good. Along with the noise from afar, Duan Lingtian saw Duan Yidao walking over side by side with Duan Qing. Duan Yidao's expression was extremely ugly. This was Duan Lingtian's second time seeing Duan Yidao. The first time they met, Duan Yidao was forthright and enthusiastic. Moreover, he always had a forthright smile on his face. It was as though nothing could stop the smile on his face. Even when he was outside, he still had a smile on his face. However, at this moment, Duan Yidao's expression was as ugly as it could be. Duan Lingtian could imagine that Duan Yidao would not be like this because of an ordinary matter. It was obvious that Duan Qing had told him something that made him reveal such an expression. Father. When Duan Lang saw Duan Yidao, it was as though he had seen his savior. He hurriedly went up to him and said, "The Tai clan manor is too much of a bully. The person I'm marrying today is clearly the daughter of the second manor master, Tai Xiong Taiyu. However, the person who came today is the fourth manor master, Tai Heng. He even wants his daughter to replace Taiyu and marry me." This marriage was completely decided by the Tai clan, and they're humiliating our Duan clan manor. As he finished speaking, Duan Lang's originally angry face became even angrier. When Duan Yidao saw Duan Lang, his expression softened a little. However, in the depths of his eyes, there was obvious pain and helplessness. "Lang, don't be silly. Today you're marrying Tai Lanyu, the daughter of Tai Heng, the fourth manor master of Tai clan, not some Taiyu. Father personally agreed to this marriage. There can't be a mistake. Don't speak nonsense. Alright. Go and apologize to the fourth Iron Manor master. Then finish the wedding ceremony with your future wife." Once Duan Yidao's words left his mouth, it wasn't only Duan Lang who was dumbfounded. Even the surrounding Duan family members were dumbfounded. All of them widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. What's going on? Wasn't Duan Lang going to marry Taiyu from Tai clan village? How did it become Iron Blue Jade? That's impossible, right? But Uncle Yidao clearly said so. Could it be that we made a mistake? How is that possible? Among the younger generation of Tai clan village, only Taiyu is worthy of Duan Lang. Not only is Tai Lanyu fat, but her conduct is also very bad. How could Uncle Yidao allow Duan Lang to marry her? But Yidao clearly said so now. What's going on? Why do I feel that the manor master said something to Uncle Yidao, causing him to act like this? Uncle Yidao's expression was very ugly just now. I'm afraid this matter isn't that simple. The people of the Duan clan who were present broke into whispers. Almost everyone felt that there was more to this matter than met the eye. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian, who was a bystander, was almost certain. There was definitely a secret behind this matter. Now, Duan Ling Tian intentionally glanced at the father and daughter pair of Tai clan village's fourth manor master, Tai Heng, and saw that both of them had mocking smiles on their faces. Their gazes towards Duan Lang were filled with contempt and disdain. "Father, why did you say that? Do you think I don't know who I'm marrying?" After Duan Lang returned to his senses, his face flushed red as he shook his head. "Back then, I only agreed to this marriage after I found out the other party was Taiyu. The person I want to marry is Taiyu, not Tai Lanyu. The person I want to marry today is not her." As he spoke, Duan Lang was close to roaring. "Ha!" At this moment, before Duan Yidao, whose expression had darkened, could speak again, Tai Lanyu had already burst out laughing. She placed her hands on her hips and had an insufferably arrogant aura. "Duan Lang, even if you're unwilling to marry me, Tai Lanyu, today you still have to marry me. You don't have a choice. The person my Tai clan village wanted to marry you was indeed Taiyu. But now the person you want to marry is me, Tai Lanyu." As Tai Lanyu spoke, the smile on her face turned into a mocking smile. "Of course you can also try not to marry me. However, if you do that, not only will you be unlucky, I'm afraid you'll also implicate the entire Duan clan village. I definitely won't marry you." Duan Lang coldly looked at Tai Lanyu as he spoke coldly. "Lang, you must marry her." At this moment, Duan Yidao spoke. There was no room for negotiation in his tone. "Don't forget that you're a member of the Duan clan village. Could it be that you've forgotten what I've taught you since you were young? In front of the Duan clan village, are personal gains and losses just a small matter?" Duan Lang's expression changed as he asked with a gloomy expression, "Father, why?" This was the first time he had spoken to his father in such a tone. However, in his opinion, even if he wanted him to die, he had to give him a clear reason. Earlier, he already felt that something was amiss with his father. Now that he heard his father's words, he felt even more that something was amiss. Moreover, he urgently wanted to know the truth of the matter. What was it that caused his father to act this way? He knew very well what kind of person his father was. Even if all the clan leaders of the Tai clan village were to make a move, it would still be impossible for him to lower his head like this. Therefore, he felt that there was a great secret behind this matter. Lang. At this moment, Duan Yidao gritted his teeth. He seemed to have realized that he had to explain the matter clearly to his son. Otherwise, his son would not be able to calmly accept everything before his eyes. Before he opened his mouth, he walked to Duan Lang's side and whispered a few words into his ear. As time passed by, Duan Lang's originally solemn expression changed again and again. In the end, Duan Lang's body even started to tremble. After being stunned for a moment, he threw his head back and laughed loudly. Ah, ah. So it's like this. So it's like this. Oh. Duan Lang's loss of composure caused Duan Ling Tian to frown. It was not difficult for him to see that Duan Lang must have known something. This matter should have been mentioned by the Tai clan village's 4th clan leader, Tai Heng, to the Duan clan village's 3rd clan leader, Duan Qing. In the next instant he saw that after Duan Lang stopped laughing, he turned around and walked toward the Tai clan village's clan leader, Tai Heng, and his daughter. Everyone in the Duan clan village looked at him in confusion. What's wrong with Duan Lang? I feel that Duan Lang has lost his composure. What did Uncle Yi Dao say to Duan Lang? Under the puzzled gazes of everyone including Duan Ling Tian, Duan Lang walked in front of Tai Heng and his daughter. He looked at them and asked indifferently, "Do you think that I'll compromise like you think today?" Before Tai Heng could speak, Tai Lanyu had already snorted coldly and said disdainfully, "Looks like your father has already told you. What? You don't want to compromise? Do you have the guts to do so? That person is not someone that you and even the Duan clan village's southern village can afford to offend. Or perhaps, that person is someone that even the entire Duan clan village can't afford to offend." Tai Lanyu's tone became more and more disdainful. On the other hand, everyone in the Duan clan village was confused when they heard this. When Duan Ling Tian heard this, he frowned slightly. He could faintly tell that there was someone behind all this. And that person was someone that the Duan clan village's southern village and even the entire Duan clan village could not afford to offend. A warrior can be killed but not humiliated. No one can control the life of Duan Lang. No one can. Under the gazes of everyone in the Duan clan village, Duan Lang, who had his back facing them, suddenly stretched out his hands. Almost at the same time as he finished speaking, a powerful purple light with streaks of dazzling lightning appeared and instantly enveloped his entire body. Oh no! Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. In a flash, his body disappeared from the spot. Lang, or don't? Duan Yidao roared loudly. Then, his entire body turned into a ball of flames and whistled as he charged toward Duan Lang. However, in the instant that Duan Lingtian appeared in front of Duan Lang, Duan Yidao arrived first. Duan Lang's body was completely entangled by the lightning energy. Then with a sudden jolt, a shockwave swept out. At the same time, a mist of blood sprayed out and stained Duan Yidao's body. Even Tai Heng and his daughter were splashed with blood. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's body appeared after teleporting. His expression was ugly as he looked at the pool of blood in front of him. His gaze did not change for a long time. Duan Lang had committed suicide. The group of people from the Duan family manor were also dumbfounded. The villa master of the Duan family manor, Duan Qing, had a remorseful expression on his face. It was as though he regretted something. Why? Duan Lingtian was the first to regain his senses. He looked at Duan Yidao who was beside him and asked in a deep voice, "Even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. What did you say to Duan Lang?" Duan Lingtian felt that it was impossible for Duan Yidao to harm Duan Lang. However, after listening to Duan Yidao's words, Duan Lang chose to commit suicide. This caused him to blame Duan Yidao a little. However, the current Duan Yidao was completely in a daze. Looking at the pool of blood on the ground, his face was filled with sorrow and remorse. Langer, father is useless. Father is useless. Father is the one who let you down. Father is the one who let you down. The group of people from the Tai family manor, including Tai Heng and his daughter, were all stunned. When Tai Heng regained his senses, a respectful expression appeared on his face. At the same time he said to Tai Lanyu who was beside him, "Let's go back. Since he's gone, this marriage can be considered to have come to an end." However, even though they wanted to leave, the people from the Duan family manor did not allow them to do so. They moved on their own and surrounded them. Moreover, they were staring at them fiercely. After all, Duan Lang had committed suicide because of them. Chapter 3600. The people from Duan clan who surrounded the people from Tai clan village were furious. Although they did not know what had happened, it was obvious that Duan Lang's death had something to do with the people from Tai clan village. It could be said that they had watched Duan Lang grow up. Duan Lang's father, Duan Yidao, was not the only one who had high hopes for Duan Lang. Even they had high hopes for Duan Lang because in the history of Duan clan village, almost all of those who were as talented as Duan Lang had successfully become gods. The birth of a god would not only make the southern clan village famous, but it could also lead the southern clan village to break away from the Duan clan village and establish their own clan. They could even establish themselves in other cities. Leaving the mountains was the dream of every person from the southern clan village. Every time they saw Duan Lang, it was as though they had seen hope. However, Duan Lang was now dead. What are you trying to do? Tai Heng shook his head and sighed when he saw the people from Duan clan village surrounding him. Tai Lanyu, on the other hand, had already stepped forward and said angrily with her hands on her hips, "Do you think we caused Duan Lang's death? Do you think I, Tai Lanyu, want to marry Duan Lang? What a joke." As soon as Tai Lanyu finished speaking, someone from Duan clan village asked in a deep voice, "Why did Duan Lang commit suicide? You should know the reason, right?" The incident today was a complete mystery to the people from Duan clan village and southern clan. In their opinion, they could solve this mystery from the people from Tai clan village. If you want to know the reason, you can ask your village lord. At the same time, Tai Heng said calmly, "This matter has nothing to do with our Tai clan village. If we really want to get to the bottom of it, our Tai clan village is also a victim." When he finished speaking, before the people from Duan clan village and southern clan village could ask again, Tai Heng's gaze had already landed on the Duan clan village lord, Duan Qing. Village lord Duan Qing. Duan Qing had already recovered from the shock of Duan Lang's suicide, but his expression was still extremely ugly. When he heard Tai Heng's words and saw the group of people from the Duan clan and southern clan surrounding the people from the Tai clan village, he immediately shouted, "Everyone come back. Let village lord Tai Heng and the others leave." At Duan Qing's command, the people of the Duan clan's southern manor all revealed looks of unwillingness. Most of them retreated, but there were a few who did not move. They looked at Duan Qing with unwillingness. "Manor lord, they killed Duan Lang. Duan Lang's death has nothing to do with them." Duan Qing sighed. "Did you hear that? Duan Lang's death had nothing to do with us," said Tai Lanyu with a cold smile. Immediately after, she pulled Tai Heng and left with the group of people from the Tai clan village. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from the sight of the people from the Duan clan village. Because of Duan Qing's words, no one from the Duan clan tried to stop them. Manor Lord, why did you say that Duan Lang's death had nothing to do with them? Wasn't Duan Lang forced to his death by them?" "Villa Master, you have to give us an explanation for this." The group of people from the Duan manor all looked at Duan Qing, the manor lord, unwillingly. Their voices were filled with suppressed anger. "Alright, I'll give you an explanation." Duan Qing took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Earlier Tai Heng told me, the second young master of Mountain Overlook City's Chen clan, Chen Fei, took a fancy to Taiyu when Taiyu entered the city not long ago. After that, he personally brought a divine spirit realm expert to the second branch of the Tai clan village to propose marriage. Naturally, the second branch of the Tai clan village would be eager to establish ties with the Chen clan. Even if Taiyu was made a concubine, they wouldn't have any objections. Naturally, the two of them hit it off. However, no one expected that the second young master of the Chen clan, Chen Fei, laughed coldly when he found out about the marriage between Taiyu and Duan Lang. After that, he said he wanted to marry the most difficult woman in the Tai clan village to Duan Lang. At that time, someone from the second branch of the Tai clan village mentioned the fourth branch's Tai Lanyu. The second young master of the Chen clan personally led a divine spirit realm expert to the fourth branch of the Tai clan village and ordered the Tai clan village's fourth manor lord, Tai Heng, to marry his daughter to Duan Lang and send Tai Lanyu over on the wedding day that was supposed to belong to Duan Lang and Taiyu. The second young master of the Chen clan said that if the fourth branch of the Tai clan village dared to go against his wishes, he would uproot the fourth branch of the Chen clan village. If the Duan clan village disobeyed, he would also deal with the Duan clan village. At this point, Duan Qing's expression, which was already unpleasant to look at, became even more unsightly. As Duan Qing finished speaking, everyone from the Duan clan village came to a realization and revealed furious expressions. That second young master of the Chen clan went too far. Duan Lang committed suicide because firstly, he didn't want to be manipulated by others. Secondly, he didn't want to be a burden to the Duan clan. Duan Qing sighed. Today Duan Lang would either die or marry Tai Lanyu. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to satisfy the second young master of the Chen clan. Although Duan Lang could escape, as the saying went, a monk can run but the temple can't. The moment Duan Lang left, the second young master of the Chen clan might make a move on the Duan clan village. Many people from the Duan clan village revealed sorrowful and indignant expressions. The second young master of the Chen clan has a lofty status and basically has a god-level expert protecting him whenever he goes out. Why does he have to make things difficult for us villagers? Tyrannical. Too tyrannical. The heavens are unfair. The heavens are unfair. And now, Duan Lingtian, who had witnessed everything with his own eyes, finally understood why Duan Lang would suddenly commit suicide after hearing Duan Yidao's words. As it turned out, it was because he was forced into a desperate situation. Although he hadn't known Duan Lang for long, he was extremely clear about Duan Lang's character. Mountain Overlook City was the city closest to the endless mountains where the Duan clan village was located. Duan Lingtian had previously heard of the Chen clan and knew that it was one of the few large clans in Mountain Overlook City. It controlled many industries in Mountain Overlook City and possessed no less than 5 god-level experts. It was said that there were even intermediate gods in the clan. Not only did he steal someone's wife, but he also wanted to control someone else's life. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes. This was the first time his emotions had fluctuated so intensely since he arrived in the realm of gods. A hint of killing intent flashed across his eyes. His heart had been tempered 1,000 times in both his previous and current lives. At this moment, when he thought of Duan Lang's figure when he was still alive and the smile on his face that seemed to be filled with optimism for the future, he couldn't help but feel rage rising in his heart. The second young master of the Qian clan? Since arriving in the realm of gods, this was the first time Duan Lingtian felt murderous intent towards someone. You and I have known each other for a long time. I'll give you justice for this matter. Duan Lingtian glanced at Duan Yidao, who was still touching the blood on the ground and seemed to be slightly dazed. Then he looked at the blood that covered the ground as he muttered in his heart. Lang. A shrill cry rang in the air. It was Duan Lang's mother who had rushed over after hearing the news. She knelt in front of the bloodstains left behind by Duan Lang and cried loudly. Duan Yidao, who was standing next to her, finally regained his senses. He hugged his wife and comforted her. The surrounding people from the Duan clan village, including Duan Qing, had bloodshot eyes. Duan Qing was not only the most outstanding disciple of the Duan clan village's southern manor, but he had also committed suicide to protect the Duan clan village. In the next few days, the entire Duan clan village was busy preparing for Duan Qing's funeral. Duan Lingtian, who had planned to leave the Duan clan village, did not leave. He accompanied the people from the Duan clan village to send Duan Qing off. Duan Lingtian only planned to leave after Duan Qing was buried. Brother Lingtian. Before Duan Lingtian left, Duan Yidao came looking for him. Duan Lingtian was taken aback. Uncle Yidao, what's the matter? Duan Lingtian and Duan Lang were peers. Since Duan Yidao was Duan Lang's father, Duan Lingtian had to treat him politely as though he was an elder. Brother Lingtian, this is the congratulatory gift you gave to my son. How thoughtful of you. It's a pity he didn't have the fortune to receive such a precious gift. Duan Yidao handed the spatial ring that Duan Lingtian had given to Duan Lang. Based on his words, it was clear he knew there was an emperor-grade celestial weapon in the spatial ring. Uncle Yidao. Duan Lingtian shook his head when he found out the reason Duan Yidao had come looking for him. This is the congratulatory gift I gave to Duan Lang. Whether he's still alive or not, I won't take it back. You as his father should put it away. In the future you can give it to anyone you want. Before Duan Yidao could reply, Duan Lingtian had already teleported and disappeared from Duan Yidao's sight. When he reappeared, he was already in the sky above the Duan clan's manor. After a few more teleportations, Duan Lingtian was nowhere to be seen. He gave away an emperor-grade celestial weapon so casually. It seems like Brother Lingtian is really extraordinary. Duan Yidao sighed. Then he put the spatial ring away helplessly before he turned around and left. After leaving the Duan clan's manor, Duan Lingtian began to make his way to Mountainside City. Initially, he had planned to go to Mountainside City to learn about the surroundings before deciding what to do next. However, there was something else he wanted to do in Mountainside City. He wanted to seek justice for Duan Lang. While Duan Lingtian was heading to Mountain View City, in the Tai clan manor that he'd just left, it wasn't calm at all. To be more precise, it was not peaceful in the 4th branch of the Tai clan manor. Second young master, I sent my daughter to the Duan clan manor with the intention of accomplishing this good deed. However, who knew Duan Lang would choose to commit suicide after learning the truth? Before he died, he even said that no one could control his fate. The 4th manor head of the Tai clan village, Tai Hang, stood in front of a thin young man wearing brocade clothes. He had a cold expression on his face as he bowed and spoke with a respectful expression. The young man was none other than the second young master of the Chen clan, Chen Fei. Behind Chen Fei stood a slender old man with white hair and eyebrows. His face was thin, and his hands were clasped behind his back as he rested with his eyes closed. No one could control his fate? Chen Fei sneered when he heard Tai Heng's words. Did Duan Lang think that this matter would be settled with his death? Since he refused to marry your daughter, he went against my wishes. He can't absolve himself from the blame for his death. You, bring some experts with you and follow me to destroy the Duan clan manor. Chen Fei ordered as he looked at Tai Heng. Chapter 3601. Destroy the Duan family manor? Hearing Chen Fei's words, Tai Heng's breathing stagnated. This Chen clan's second young master actually wanted to annihilate the entire Duan clan? In the next moment, Tai Heng seemed to have thought of something as he glanced at the person behind Chen Fei. The old man behind Chen Fei opened his eyes the moment Tai Heng looked at him. He looked at Chen Fei with a kind expression and said, Second young master, you just need to destroy the Duan family's southern manor. There should be a god in the Duan family's southern manor, but I'm not sure if he's in the Duan family's southern manor. If we rashly annihilate the entire Duan clan manor, we'll definitely infuriate him. Although our Chen clan isn't afraid of a mere lesser deity, if he hides in the dark and attacks our Chen clan's existences below the level of a god, he'll still be a huge threat. You destroyed the Duan manor and the southern manor. As long as the other three manors are not involved, the eastern manor lord, who is suspected to have become a god, will not dare to attack the Chen family even if he is furious. If we destroy the entire Duan clan, he'll definitely act out of desperation. Leaving the other three clans behind will be enough to make him hesitate. The old man's train of thought was very clear. Hearing this, Chen Fei frowned and then relaxed. I'll listen to Grandpa Chiu. Chen Chiu was a lower-ranked deity of Mountain Overlook City's Chen family. Originally, Chen Fei's status was not enough to warrant the personal protection of a Chen family deity. However, as Chen Fei had a good relationship with Chen Chiu since they were young, Chen Chiu would usually take the initiative to follow him wherever he went to ensure his safety. Even Chen Chiu's elder brother, the young master of the Chen family, did not receive such treatment. The person who followed young Master Chen to protect him was only a demigod with decent strength. Because of this, Chen Fei didn't dare to disobey Chen Chiu. Elder Chiu is right. At the same time, Tai Heng, who had heard Chen Chiu's words, heaved a sigh of relief. He was really worried that Chen Fei would attack the Duan family. With the Chen family's background, although they were not afraid of the Duan family, as the saying goes, a cornered dog will jump over the wall. If they really destroyed the Duan family, the Eastern Manor Lord of the Duan family, who was suspected to be a deity, would definitely seek revenge on the Chen family. As for the fourth branch of the Tai family village as a participant, they would definitely suffer an even more intense retaliation. At that time, the Chen family would be too busy to take care of them. Now Tai Heng heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that they were only going to attack the Duan Manor and the South Manor. Mountain Overlook City was the first city Duan Ling Tian visited after arriving in the profound Handle land in the realms of gods. From the perspective of the Duan Ling Tian, Mountainside City wasn't considered big, but it wasn't small either. After all, he had seen bigger cities when he was in the Devata realms. Even 10 mountain approach cities could not compare to them. Naturally, the smaller cities in the Devata realms could not compare to Mountain View City. Mountainside City. Duan Ling Tian hovered in the air outside Mountain Overlook City, sizing it up from afar. Mountainside City was surrounded by thick city walls. There were a total of 8 city gates, 2 in each direction. The bricks used to form the city walls gave off an ancient feeling despite the distance between them. Moreover, there were quite a few clear marks on the walls. Sword scars, saber scars, palm prints, fist prints. These scars varied in depth. It could be seen that the city walls had experienced many battles in the past. At the same time, it could also be seen how tough the city walls were. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian's figure flashed and arrived outside Mountain View City's city gate in the blink of an eye. Then he directly flew into the city. In the next moment, what appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes were numerous buildings and open spaces. However, there were many figures moving back and forth in the surroundings of some of the buildings. Those who passed by deliberately avoided those places. When he saw this, it wasn't difficult for Duan Lingtian to guess that those places should be the property of some power. Generally speaking, only such places would have restrictions and the power to prevent others from entering. Tassel Restaurant. After he entered Mountain Face City, Duan Lingtian noticed that some of the buildings had flags hanging on them. The flags either had the names of inns, restaurants, or stores written on them, and they were all-encompassing. These flags that appeared before Duanlingtian were no different from guiding lights to guide the way for Duanlingtian. The Tassel restaurant was the largest restaurant that Duanlingtian had discovered in the sky above mountain overlook city. It was 3 stories tall and occupied a vast area. Among the other restaurants, even though the largest one had 3 stories as well, it only occupied half the area of this restaurant. Most importantly, this restaurant was located in the center of mountain overlook city. From the mundane realms all the way to the Devata realms, whenever Duanlingtian went to an unfamiliar city, he would first go to a restaurant and learn about the city from others if there was no one to guide him. This was because all kinds of people gathered in the restaurant's lobby. Basically, all kinds of news could be heard. "Sir, are you the only one?" Duanlingtian descended from the sky. As soon as he arrived at the entrance of Tassel restaurant, one of the few attendants standing at the entrance walked up to him and greeted him warmly. "Would you like to dine in the lobby or in a private room?" Even though Duanlingtian was alone, the attendant did not intend to bring him to the lobby. This was because some customers only liked to stay in quiet private rooms. Moreover, private rooms had a minimum price. If the customer he brought chose a private room, he would receive a corresponding commission. For this reason, he hoped that Duanlingtian would choose a private room. "Lobby." Duanlingtian replied indifferently, "Try to sit in the middle." Sitting in the middle of the lobby, even though the lobby of the Tassel restaurant was not small, with his hearing, he was sure that he could hear most of the conversations going on inside. "Sir, please come in." The attendant was slightly disappointed when he heard that Duanlingtian wanted to go to the lobby. However, he did not show it on his face. With a smile on his face, he respectfully led Duanlingtian to a small table in the middle of the lobby. Then he took out a menu from his spatial ring and handed it to Duanlingtian. "Sir, this is the menu of our restaurant. The minimum price for a meal in our restaurant is 1 prominent celestial crystal. In the realms of gods, the cheapest stone that could aid one's cultivation was a celestial crystal. Moreover, it was extremely difficult to find low-grade celestial crystals. Moreover, celestial crystals were the most common cultivation resource in the realms of gods. Therefore, it had become the currency in the lower levels of the realms of gods. In a city like Mountainside City, which was located at the bottom of the plains of gods, if a restaurant charged a fee of divine stones for a meal, no one would visit it. Therefore, even though Duanlingtian did not have any divine stones with him, he still went to the restaurant. He had heard that celestial crystals were the currency in the lower levels of the endless mountains. Divine stones were considered a high-grade currency in the surrounding areas. After staying in the restaurant for half a day, Duanlingtian learned a lot of things. However, most of them were things that he was not interested in. There were many things that he wanted to know, but no one mentioned them. "I'll come again tomorrow." After finding an inn to stay in, Duanlingtian went to the restaurant every time he went to a restaurant. "I'll stay in the restaurant for another 2 days. It's time to think of a way to get some divine stones." Divine stones could aid in cultivation and increase one's cultivation speed. For Duanlingtian, who was eager to ascend to godhood, it was undoubtedly something that he urgently needed. In fact, he had been thinking of many ways to earn divine stones over the past few days. The simplest method was to sell some of the things he had on hand. Of course, the things that he could sell were definitely not life-threatening. Otherwise, he would be killed before he could even get his hands on the divine stones. Today, Duanlingtian went to the Tassel restaurant as usual. "Sir, what would you like to eat today?" It was the same waiter. When he saw Duanlingtian again, he smiled even more brightly. Because Duanlingtian had been eating at the Tassel restaurant for many days in a row, and he was the one who served him, the Tassel restaurant had already determined that he was a regular. Under such circumstances, the waiter could get a higher percentage of income when Duanlingtian spent money at the Tassel restaurant. Of course, the most important thing was that when Duanlingtian ordered food, he ordered the more famous dishes of the Tassel restaurant. They were expensive and had a certain supportive effect on cultivation. However, the dishes that had a supportive effect on cultivation were only effective at the beginning. After eating a few more times, it was difficult to feel the effects anymore. "What other signature dishes have I not tried? Just help me order whatever you like." Duanlingtian nodded at the waiter before he casually tossed a prominent celestial crystal to the waiter. Since the waiter had been cooperating with him and answering his questions for the past few days, he would give the waiter a tip every time he came. This was one of the reasons why the waiter was so enthusiastic about Duanlingtian. To the waiter, Duanlingtian was a once-in-a-lifetime wealthy guest. "Thank you, sir." After the waiter received the tip, he went to get busy. At the same time, Duan Lingtian began to listen to the conversations of the people around him. Soon, a conversation entered his ears. Have you heard? 2 days ago, the second young master of the Qian family found a beautiful concubine in the Endless Mountain. Moreover, he even destroyed the southern manor of the Duan family for that concubine. I heard. The entire southern manor of the Duan family was annihilated. I heard that the concubine of the second young master of the Qian family is the person in charge of the second branch of the Tai family manor. She's the daughter of the second manor master of the Tai family manor. That's right. When he destroyed the southern manor of the Duan family, the people from the second and fourth branches of the Tai family village followed him to help him. When this conversation entered Duan Lingtian's ears, it caused him to be stunned. When Duan Lingtian regained his senses, he crushed the teacup in his hand with a loud bang. His hair band broke and danced in the air even though there was no wind. Clang. Duan Lingtian raised his hand and threw 2 celestial crystals on the table. Then, he disappeared into thin air under the shocked gazes of the people around him. It's the teleportation profundity. Even if the people present were not deities, it was not difficult for them to see that Duan Lingtian had cast the teleportation profundity from the law of space. Sir? As for the waiter who returned from helping Duan Lingtian order, he only had time to see the Duan Lingtian's figure disappear. However, when he saw the celestial crystals Duan Lingtian left behind, he heaved a sigh of relief. If this guest had not left behind any celestial crystals, he would have had to pay for the meal. It seems like this guest suddenly has an urgent matter. It was not difficult for the waiter to guess. After leaving Tassel Restaurant, Duan Lingtian left Mountain Overlook City and headed in the direction of the Endless Mountain. He wanted to verify the accuracy of the information. Chapter 3602. After returning to the Endless Mountains, Duan Lingtian arrived at the vicinity of the Duan Manor with ease. To be more precise, he arrived at the entrance of the Duan Manor's southern manor. However, when he arrived at the entrance of the southern manor, he discovered that the Duan Manor had been reduced to ruins. Not a single building was intact and the entire place was covered in blood. At this moment, there were figures shuttling back and forth in the southern manor, carrying out corpses one by one. As he got closer, Duan Lingtian could hear many voices. The southern manor is really unlucky this time. They actually offended the second young master of the Qian family. Although we don't belong to the same branch, we're still one of the major branches of the Duan Manor. There's no need to be sarcastic and gloating. The deaths of the southern manor's villa master, Duan Qin and Duan Yidao are equivalent to the entire Duan Manor losing 2 experts. Everything is too sudden. Otherwise, our eastern manor would definitely step in and protect at least one of Duan Qin and Duan Yidao. From the voices, it was not difficult to tell that the figures shuttling back and forth in the southern manor were from the other branches of the Duan Manor. Apart from the southern manor, there was also the eastern manor, western manor, and northern manor. Qian family Qian Fei. Seeing that the people from the other 3 branches of the Duan Manor did not show any disrespect to the corpses of the people from the southern manor, Duan Lingtian did not intend to show himself. However, his eyes were burning with rage. Although he did not stay in the southern manor for long. However, it was during this short period of time that he realized the warmth of the people from the southern manor. Previously, when Duan Lang, who was closest to him, was forced to death, he was already furious. Now, the entire southern manor was destroyed. Figures appeared in his mind one after another. The few lively youths would occasionally speak up when he was conversing with Duan Lang. Duan Lang's mother would even enthusiastically send him all sorts of delicious food. There were also the other warm and hospitable villagers of the Duan family manor, allowing him to experience the warmth of home in the Duan family manor. Now all of this was gone. Everything was gone. After snatching someone's fiancé and killing him, he even annihilated the Duan clan's southern clan. Qian clan's second young master Qian Fei, you're really something. Unknowingly, the corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curled up into a cold smile. When he arrived, Duan Lingtian was silent. When he left, Duan Lingtian was still as silent as before. Not a single person from the other branches of the Duan clan noticed his presence. After leaving the Duan clan manor, Duan Lingtian returned to Mountain View City and returned to the inn he stayed at earlier. Duan Lingtian had booked the best room in the inn for 3 months. It cost him 1,000 prominent celestial crystals. However, to Duan Lingtian, it was just a small sum of money. Previously, when he was in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, even before he met his master, Feng Qingyang, Hualao had given him a large number of celestial crystals. After meeting his master, Feng Qingyang, the number of celestial crystals in his possession had increased to a shocking extent. Most of them were prominent celestial crystals and even supreme celestial crystals. It was difficult for him to take out mediocre and primitive celestial crystals since he did not have any. His master, Feng Qingyang, was the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. The heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven was in charge of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. For this reason, Duan Lingtian did not lack celestial crystals when he was in the Devata realm. Now that he was in a remote place in the realm of gods where celestial crystals were the main currency, Duan Lingtian naturally did not lack celestial crystals for daily transactions. The day I become a god will be the day the second young master of the Chen clan pays for what he did to the Duan clan's southern manor. After returning to his room, Duan Lingtian returned to his room to cultivate. Before he closed his eyes, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He knew he was not a good person. However, what the second young master of the Chen clan had done to the Duan clan's southern manor had infuriated him. To a certain extent, the life and death of the second young master of the Chen family had already been linked to his path of cultivation. After this, whether or not he could quickly become a god was most likely related to the second young master of the Chen family. After all, he knew the second young master of the Chen clan was protected by a god-level powerhouse. Under such circumstances, he would need to be at least a god-level powerhouse to kill the second young master of the Chen clan. Even without the 7 orifices exquisite sword, Duan Lingtian was confident he could defeat anyone below the god level. After all, even a demigod would not have comprehended many profundities from the law in such a remote place. Moreover, it was almost impossible for them to master the 4 Tao of heaven, earth, and heaven. The strongest demigod in the vicinity of Mountain View City would be easily killed by a 9-star god of war in a Devata realm. Based on Duan Lingtian's knowledge, even the strongest demigod in the Duan clan's southern manor, Duan Qing, had only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of fire. He had not comprehended 3 profundities yet. On the other hand, the second strongest person in the southern manor, Duan Yi Dao, had only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of fire. Although he was not as strong as Duan Qing, he was still stronger than most demigods. Most of the demigods in the vicinity of Mountain View City had yet to comprehend any profundities from the law of fire. The reason for this was that the people in the realms of gods were born with extraordinary cultivation bases. Due to the superior cultivation environment, it was not difficult for them to cultivate to the celestial emperor stage or even the demigod stage. On the other hand, the people in the realms of gods did not have superior conditions when it came to comprehending profundities from the law of fire. Compared to the people in the Devata realms, they did not have much of an advantage. With Duan Lingtian's current comprehension of profundities from the law of fire, even if he did not use the 4 Tao of heaven, earth, and heaven, he was confident he could defeat anyone in the vicinity of Mountain View City. If he used the 4 Tao of heaven, earth, and heaven, Duan Lingtian was confident he could even defeat an ordinary higher deity. Cultivate, cultivate. I have to break through and become a deity as soon as possible. The cultivation method Duan Lingtian was currently cultivating was the 1,000 transformations illusory technique that his master had imparted to him. Unlike other cultivation methods, the 1,000 transformations illusory technique could be fused with any low-level cultivation method to transform it into a cultivation method of the same level as the 1,000 transformations illusory technique. It was one of the top cultivation methods in the realms of gods. Such cultivation methods were usually created by supreme experts and passed down to their descendants. Naturally, anyone who cultivated the 1,000 transformations illusory technique would only have the opportunity to transform one cultivation method. Duan Lingtian had chosen the 9 Dragons War Sovereign technique that he had first cultivated. It was also the strongest and most domineering cultivation method he had obtained from the Rebirth Martial Emperor's memory in the mundane realm. Speaking of which, this cultivation method had been sealed in Duan Lingtian's memories for many years. If it was not for the fact that the 1,000 transformations illusory technique required a cultivation method as a medium, he would not have thought of it. The current 9 Dragons War Sovereign technique was completely different, and the circulation was completely different as well. Moreover, it could even integrate the profundities of the laws into it, allowing the celestial origin energy to perfectly fuse with the profundities of the laws, allowing the user to unleash even greater power. This was one of the commonalities of cultivation methods in the realms of gods. In the realms of gods, whether a cultivation method was good or not depended on whether the celestial origin energy was able to fuse with the profundities of laws. When Duan Lingtian circulated his cultivation method, the celestial origin energy in his body was like a surging river. Gray light could be seen swirling in the river. It was none other than the law of space that he was skilled in. Various profundities could be seen in his meridians, forming a perfect fit with his celestial origin energy. Cultivation was not something that could be completed in a day. At the very least, the path to godhood was not as simple as it seemed. Just half a step away. With the anger he felt toward the second young master of the Chen clan, Duan Lingtian managed to break through to the peak of the demigod stage in one go. He was only a step away from godhood. However, this step was met with great resistance, preventing him from making a breakthrough. Based on his past experience, he knew it would be futile to continue cultivating. Therefore he decided to wake up. This time, I've been cultivating for almost half a month. Duan Lingtian looked at the hourglasses in front of his bed. They came with the rooms in the inn. From left to right there were 4 hourglasses in total. The first hourglass had been empty for 10 years. The second hourglass had been empty for a year. The third hourglass had been empty for a month. The fourth hourglass had been empty for a day. All of the hourglasses were placed upside down before Duan Lingtian entered closed-door cultivation. Now that the third hourglass had been empty for half a month, it had been empty for half a month. There should be some pills that can assist in breaking through from the demigod stage to godhood. These pills should be purchased with divine stones. Yes, I'll use immortal crystals to exchange for a batch of divine stones first. Before Duan Lingtian arrived in Mountain Overlook City, he had been thinking of ways to earn divine stones. It was only a few days after he arrived in Mountain Overlook City that he learned he could exchange celestial crystals for divine stones in all the shops in Mountain Overlook City. Naturally, only supreme-grade celestial crystals could be exchanged for divine stones, and it required a lot of supreme-grade celestial crystals to exchange for divine stones. One tael of divine stones required 100 supreme-grade immortal crystals. One supreme-grade immortal crystal weighed about 1 tael. However, although Duan Lingtian did not have divine stones, he did not lack immortal crystals. He did not lack supreme-grade immortal crystals. There was a small mountain of supreme-grade immortal crystals in his spatial ring. Although he had never counted them, Duan Lingtian could roughly make out the number. There are at least 10 million supreme-grade immortal crystals in my spatial ring. What did 10 million supreme-grade immortal crystals mean? 100 supreme-grade immortal crystals could be exchanged for 1 tael of divine stones. 10 million supreme-grade immortal crystals could be exchanged for 100,000 taels of divine stones. In Mountainside City, even the strongest forces with the deepest foundations, including the Chen family, could only take out a few tens of thousands of divine stones with the combined efforts of an entire clan or sect. The wealth of divine stones Duan Lingtian possessed surpassed any force in Mountainside City. I'll exchange for 1,000 divine stones first. After walking out of the inn, Duan Lingtian arrived at a shop belonging to the Chen family. He was prepared to exchange for divine stones here. This shop was also a shop belonging to the Chen family that sold pills. Chapter 3603. For example, not all spirit fruits in the realms of gods were divine fruits. Immortal fruits were the majority. Not all pills in the realms of gods were divine pills. There were many immortal pills as well. This was especially true for a small city like Mountain Overlook City that was located in a remote part of the Mystic Gangland. Immortal pills were the mainstream while divine pills were rare and expensive. There were 3 best pill stores in Mountain Overlook City. They belonged to the Chen clan, the Meng clan, and the Morning Cloud sect. The Chen family, the Meng family, and the Cloud Morning sect were one of the 4 strongest powers in Mountain Overlook City. There was also another power, the Celestial sect. There were no experts in the sect who were skilled in alchemy. Thus, even though they had opened alchemy stores, they were not as good as the alchemy stores opened by the other 3 families. Just take the Chen family's pill store for example. Although most of the pills sold were immortal pills, there would occasionally be divine pills. However, not many people could afford them. Sir, how may I help you? Duan Lingtian had just arrived at the entrance of the grand and magnificent medicinal pill store called the Rejuvenation Pavilion that was a subordinate of the Chen clan when one of the 2 manservants guarding the entrance took the initiative to greet him and asked with a cordial expression. I'd like to exchange for some divine stones and take a look at the pills sold in the Rejuvenation Pavilion. Duan Lingtian replied nonchalantly. Sir, please come in. The servant's eyes lit up when he heard this. Then he led Duan Lingtian into the Rejuvenation Pavilion. Sir, our Rejuvenation Pavilion is divided into 3 floors. The first floor sells ordinary immortal pills, the second floor sells rare immortal pills. As for the third floor, we sell top-grade immortal pills and occasionally, divine pills. As for the divine stones, you can exchange for them on the first floor if the quantity is small. If the quantity is large, you'll have to exchange for them on the second floor. The servant introduced Duan Ling Tian to the Rejuvenation Pavilion as he led Duan Ling Tian into the Rejuvenation Pavilion. At the same time he asked curiously, "Sir, how many divine stones would you like to exchange for?" 1,000 taels. The moment Duan Ling Tian spoke, the servant was so shocked that he stopped in his tracks. He was dumbstruck. 1,000 divine stones was undoubtedly an astronomical amount of wealth to the manservant. Even in the Qian clan behind the Huichen Pavilion, apart from the Qian clan's patriarch and the few godly spirit realm experts in the Qian clan, there was probably no one who could take out so many godly stones in one go. One divine stone was equivalent to 100 supreme immortal crystals. 1,000 divine stones was equivalent to 100,000 supreme grade immortal crystals. "Sir, you're not joking?" After a long while, the manservant came to his senses and stared at Duan Ling Tian as if he had seen a ghost. His face was full of disbelief. "Do I look like I'm joking?" Duan Ling Tian glanced at the servant and asked, "If your Huichen brothel can't offer so many god stones, I will leave now and go somewhere else to exchange for them." In Mountain Overlook City, the exchange rate of divine stones was different from that of the realms of gods. Instead, it was based on the exchange rate in major cities. In cities like Mountain Overlook City, the exchange rate was 10% higher. If one wanted to exchange one divine stone for one divine stone, the exchange rate would be 100 supreme immortal crystals. However, in Mountain Overlook City, any shop would charge 110 supreme immortal crystals. The factions behind these shops could then take the supreme immortal crystals to the major cities to exchange for divine stones according to the exchange rate. Why didn't they just go to the major cities? This was because there would be a certain amount of risk along the way to the major cities. Unless one was a godly spirit realm expert, one wouldn't dare to simply go there and back. "Sir, please wait here for a moment. I will go look for the manager." The manservant greeted Duan Ling Tian and hurried off to look for the manager of the Huichen brothel. If this customer really wanted to exchange for so many divine stones, the manservant's commission would be a terrifying figure. Even if he could only take 1% of the Huichen brothel's profits, he would still be able to obtain a commission. 1,000 divine stones would cost 110,000 supreme immortal crystals in the Huichen brothel. 10,000 supreme immortal crystals were earned by the Huichen brothel. 1% of 10,000 supreme immortal crystals was equivalent to 100 supreme immortal crystals. It was more than 10 times the wealth he currently had. If this business deal was successful, his fate would change because of it. "Sir, are you the one who wants to exchange for 1,000 divine stones?" The manservant soon returned, following behind an old man in a light blue robe. The old man had a medium build and an ordinary appearance. His long gray hair draped over his back. Although he looked old, he was full of vigor. Duan Ling Tian nodded indifferently. Then, he waved his hand, and 110,000 supreme celestial crystals appeared in front of him in just a blink of an eye. The old man's eyes flashed brightly, and his expression changed drastically. 110,000 supreme immortal crystals, not one more, not one less. "You can check it." Duan Ling Tian glanced at the old man. The latter nodded almost as soon as he finished speaking. "Sir, I just checked with my divine sense. It's indeed 110,000 supreme immortal crystals. Is the Huichen brothel willing to exchange? If it doesn't work, I'll look for another shop." Duan Ling Tian said again. "Yes, of course." The old man nodded hastily. Then he said to Duan Ling Tian with a smile on his face, "Sir, I've already sent a message to ask someone to bring the divine stones here. 1,000 divine stones will be here in 15 minutes. Please wait here for a moment." Currently, the old man's attitude towards Duan Ling Tian had completely changed. He had become extremely polite, and there was a trace of humility in his politeness. What a joke. Would an ordinary person be able to take out 110,000 supreme immortal crystals in one go? Moreover, the purple-clad young man had an extraordinary bearing. With just a glance, he could tell the purple-clad young man was not a simple person. Moreover, the purple-clad young man was so generous that he did not dare to be disrespectful. Duan Ling Tian nodded. "Sir, I'm Qian Tong, the shopkeeper of the returning spring pavilion. I'm also the 7th elder of the Qian clan. May I know your name?" As the old man introduced himself, he did not forget to inquire about Duan Ling Tian's background. The Qian clan had sent him a message asking him to inquire about Duan Ling Tian's background. If he could confirm Duan Ling Tian had no background and had only obtained a fortune by accident, the Qian clan would rob him of his fortune. They would kill him and take his fortune. Duan Ling Tian. Duan Lingtian did not hide his name. Perhaps, after 300 years, his name would spread to the realms of gods. However, due to the lack of information in the realms of gods, no one knew about him. So it's you, young Master Duan. Qian Tong smiled warmly before he asked, "May I know which force you're from, young Master Duan?" As soon as Qian Tong finished speaking, he feigned ignorance. "Of course, it's fine if it's inconvenient for you to say, young Master Duan. There's nothing inconvenient about it." Duan Lingtian said indifferently, "I came here with a few friends without telling my elders. We're from the Heavenly Illumination Sect." The Heavenly Illumination Sect. It was the sect where Yi Beiyuan, the old man who had brought Duan Lingtian to the military camp in the realm battlefield, was from. Although he didn't know what position the Heavenly Illumination Sect had in the profound gangland, if they could produce a medium god emperor like Yi Beiyuan, they should be able to occupy a place in the profound gangland no matter how bad they were. However, Duan Lingtian was not certain if Duan Lingtian knew about the Heavenly Illumination Sect. After all, although there were not many forces with medium divine emperors in the mystic gangland, there were still many of them. As it turned out, Duan Lingtian was right. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, horror dawned on Qian Tong's face. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, there was a hint of respect in his eyes. "So, young Master Duan is from the Heavenly Illumination Sect. I hope young Master Duan can forgive my rudeness earlier." After Qian Tong finished speaking, he bowed. The servant behind him hurriedly bowed as well. The servant's eyes were also filled with shock. He never expected the guest he was receiving to be from the Heavenly Illumination Sect. The Heavenly Illumination Sect was a famous and powerful sect in the eastern region's Tunglung province. Although it wasn't the most powerful force in the 9 mansions of the eastern region, everyone knew about it because it was a sect that had once produced an emperor god powerhouse. Even now, it still occupied a piece of land and commanded the wind and clouds. The Qian family's mansion was located in the west of Mountain View City. It occupied a vast area. The Qian family's elders and disciples patrolled the sky above. Today, the 7th elder of the Qian family, Qian Tong, had sent a message that alarmed the Qian family's patriarch, Qian Yuejin. A young man had taken out 110,000 supreme-grade celestial crystals and said he wanted to exchange them for 1,000 divine stones. It should be known that even the Qian clan only had a few tens of thousands of divine stones. 1,000 divine stones was not a small sum to the Qian clan. Although the deal was profitable, Qian Yuejin had other plans. Could he eat the celestial crystals in the young man's hand and rob him? Therefore he asked Qian Tong to find out the young man's background. At the same time he was waiting for a reply. However, he did not expect the reply he received was, the young man was a disciple of the Heavenly Illumination Sect. A disciple of the Heavenly Illumination Sect? Is this for real? Qian Yuejin found it inconceivable. He couldn't figure out why a Heavenly Illumination Sect disciple with such a lofty status would come to a small city like Mountain Overlook City that had no presence in the eastern region's Eastern Ridge Mansion. To a disciple of the Heavenly Illumination Sect, Mountain View City was a godforsaken place. I can't confirm if it's true or not. However, based on his speech and temperament, it doesn't seem fake. Qian Tong replied quickly. Even if he's a disciple of the Heavenly Illumination Sect, as long as he's not a divine spirit, our Qian family can still eat him. Qian Yuejin replied through voice transmission. Patriarch, he said he didn't come out alone. There were other disciples of the Heavenly Illumination Sect who came out with him. Moreover, someone must have seen him enter the Rejuvenation Sect. Qian Tong smiled wryly. I think it's unwise to make a move on him. A mere 1,000 divine stones isn't worth the risk for our Qian family. Qian Tong's words made Qian Yuejin break out in cold sweat. A Heavenly Illumination Sect disciple did not come out alone. Chapter 3604. Although Qian Yuejin was greedy, he knew that once the news of his Qian family killing a Heavenly Illumination Sect disciple spread out, what awaited his Qian family would be destruction. I'll personally send 1,000 divine stones over to test him further. Although Qian Tong said the 1,000 divine stones were on the way, in fact Qian Yuejin, the Qian family patriarch, had not sent anyone to deliver the 1,000 divine stones. Moreover, not everyone in the Qian family had access to so many divine stones. Even the direct descendants of the Qian family were not necessarily trustworthy. What if they lost the divine stones on the way? Therefore, the people who delivered the divine stones were definitely important figures in the Qian family. As the Qian family patriarch, Qian Yuejin was one of them. When I arrive, address me as Grand Elder. Before I arrive, remind everyone in the shop that they are not to reveal my identity and address me as Grand Elder. On the way to the elixir store, Chen Yuejin sent a message to Chen Tong. Chen Tong heard this and did not dare to neglect. He quickly sent a message to the servant behind him and the others in the store. Young Master Duan, our Chen family's great elder, is on his way. When he arrives, he will pay you 1,000 divine stones. Please wait for a moment. At the same time, Chen Tong said to Duan Lingtian with a smile. This was the second time he said the divine stones were on their way. When Duan Lingtian heard this, he merely glanced at him indifferently and did not say anything. About half a quarter of an hour later, Duan Lingtian saw the Chen family's great elder mentioned by Chen Tong. He was a middle-aged man in brocade robes with a dignified face, bushy eyebrows and a pair of bright eyes. Chen family's great elder? Seeing the person in front of him, Duan Lingtian could not help but be startled. His first thought was that this Chen family's great elder was completely different from the rumors. His second thought was that this person was not necessarily the Chen family's great elder. Although he had never seen the Chen family's great elder before, he had heard of him when he was inquiring about him in the restaurant. He knew that the Chen family's great elder was an old man with white hair and a youthful face. He had a slender figure and a crescent moon mark between his eyebrows. However, the well-dressed middle-aged man in front of him was very different from the young master of the Chen family that he had heard of. It was not difficult to guess that this was a fake Chen family elder. What kind of person would impersonate the Chen family's great elder at this time? Moreover, Chen Tong and the other people in the medicinal pill store even cooperated and addressed him respectfully as Grand Elder. A few thoughts flashed through Duan Lingtian's mind. Especially when he saw the small birthmark under the right ear of the Chen family's Grand Elder in front of him, he guessed the other party's identity. The head of the Chen family, Chen Yuejin. At the same time, he was also one of the Chen clan's deity powerhouses, a lower-ranking deity. 10 Directions Celestial Emperors? When Duan Lingtian guessed Chen Yuejin's identity, Chen Yuejin also used his own divine sense to detect Duan Lingtian's cultivation without leaving a trace. However, a harmless smile hung on his face. Chen family's Grand Elder, Chen He, greets young Master Duan. Where are the divine stones? Duan Lingtian nodded at Chen Yuejin. He didn't expose his disguise and went straight to the point. Yes. Chen Yuejin nodded. However, he didn't pass the divine stones to Duan Lingtian. Instead, he asked with a smile, I know a little about the Heaven Illumination sect. May I know which division of the Heaven Illumination sect you're from, young Master Duan? Which division of the Heaven Illumination sect he was from? Duan Lingtian was stunned when he heard Chen Yuejin's words. He realized Chen Yuejin was testing him. He didn't panic when he saw this. Instead, he glanced at Chen Yuejin nonchalantly. Elder Chen He, you know a lot about the Heaven Illumination sect? Of course. Chen Yuejin nodded with a smile. After all, the Heaven Illumination sect is a famous God-Emperor level sect in Tunglung province. In the realms of gods, any sect that had produced a God-Emperor was known as a God-Emperor level sect. Those that had produced godly venerables were known as godly Emperor level sections. It was the same for clans. Of course, there were differences between godly Emperor level sects, godly Emperor level clans, godly Emperor level sects and godly Emperor level clans. Powerful God Emperor level sects all had God Emperors now and not just one. Weak God Emperor level sects only had God Emperors in their history. They didn't have any God Emperors yet. The Heaven Illumination sect was the latter. However, as the saying went, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Even if the Heaven Illumination sect didn't have a God Emperor and wasn't the strongest sect in Tunglung province, no one dared to underestimate them. The patriarch of a small clan like Chen Yuejin looked at the Heaven Illumination sect the same way he looked at a God Emperor level sect with many God Emperors. It was an existence he looked up to but couldn't reach. Tunglung province? When Duan Lingtian was at the Duan clan's southern manor, he already knew that the Duan clan's Endless Mountain and Mountain Overlook City were both located in Tunglung province in the eastern region of the Mystic Gangland. However, he didn't expect the Heaven Illumination sect he casually mentioned to be in Tunglung province as well. What a coincidence. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up imperceptibly. The patriarch of the Chen clan is still testing me? It seems like I underestimated the importance of 1,000 divine stones to the Chen clan. Duan Lingtian chose to exchange for 1,000 divine stones instead of more because he didn't want to alarm the godly spirit realm experts of the Chen clan. However, he didn't expect the godly spirit realm experts of the Chen clan to be alarmed after he mentioned the Heaven Illumination sect. Moreover, it was the patriarch of the Chen clan. Since Elder Chen He knows about the Heaven Illumination sect, you must have heard of my teacher. Duan Lingtian glanced at Chen Yuejin indifferently and said, "My teacher is Yi Beiyuan." Yi Beiyuan. It was the old man who had helped Duan Lingtian in the realm battlefield. Due to the circumstances, Duan Lingtian had no choice but to use him. If Chen Yuejin knew of his existence, he would be even more cautious. Even if Chen Yuejin didn't know of his existence, it was because he didn't know enough about the Heaven Illumination sect. As a medium godly emperor, Duan Lingtian believed that Yi Beiyuan had a certain status in the Heaven Illumination sect. After all, the strongest forces in Tunglung province were all godly emperor forces with godly emperors. Duan Lingtian had heard of these forces in the restaurant before. However, he had never heard of the Heaven Illumination sect. Since Chen Yuejin said that the Heaven Illumination sect was an godly emperor force, there was only one possibility. The Heaven Illumination sect was a godly emperor force with no godly emperors in the current generation. Under such circumstances, the Heaven Illumination sect respected godly emperors. As a medium godly emperor, Yi Beiyuan must have a high status in the Heaven Illumination sect. If Lin Yuejin knew about the Heaven Illumination sect, he would know of Yi Beiyuan's existence. Your Lord Yi Beiyuan's disciple? As it turned out, Duan Lingtian's guess was correct. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Yuejin's eyes widened and a look of shock appeared on his face. On the other hand, the Chen family's seventh elder, Chen Tong, and the other people in the Huichen house were at a loss. This was the first time they had heard of the name Yi Beiyuan. In fact, they had only heard of the Heaven Illumination sect but did not know who was in the sect. They didn't even know the name of the sect master of the Heaven Illumination sect. In the entire Chen family, only a few people, including Chen Yuejin, had a certain level of understanding of the Heaven Illumination sect. The others only knew who the sect master of the Heaven Illumination sect was. Chen Yuejin was the only one who had a deep understanding of the Heaven Illumination sect. Moreover, Chen Yuejin dared to say that in the entire mountain overlook city and the surrounding areas, there were no more than 5 people who knew more about the Heaven Margin sect than he did. For this reason, when Duan Lingtian said he was Yi Beiyuan's disciple, Chen Yuejin almost believed him. Duan Lingtian was indeed a disciple of the Heaven Illumination sect. Moreover, Duan Lingtian was the disciple of Yi Beiyuan, the valley master of the Heaven Illumination sect's Moon Shadow Valley. I didn't expect an elder from a small family in Mountain Overlook City to know my teacher. Duan Lingtian said as he looked at Chen Yuejin deeply. I'm fortunate to have heard of him. Chen Yuejin's back was drenched in cold sweat. He still felt a lingering fear when he thought about how he had plotted against Yi Beiyuan's disciple. In the end, Duan Lingtian successfully obtained the 1,000 taels of divine stones. I didn't expect to break through and become a 10-direction celestial emperor this time. Is it possible for you to obtain the divine connection pill in Mountain Overlook City? After putting away the divine stones, Duan Lingtian looked at Chen Tong and asked. The divine connection pill was a pill consumed by half-gods. It was beneficial for one to break through and become a god. Naturally, consuming the divine connection pill only had a certain effect on becoming a god. It did not guarantee one would become a god. Generally speaking, the divine connection pill was only half a step away from becoming a god. It was only a matter of time before one became a god. Moreover, the divine connection pill was only effective for the first time. In the realms of gods, although the divine connection pill was a divine connection pill, it was not a rare divine connection pill. In fact, in most places, the divine connection pill was just an ordinary divine connection pill. However, in a small city like Mountain Overlook City, the divine connection pill was a rare item. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Chen Tong glanced at Chen Yuejin who was standing in front of him. When Chen Tong saw Chen Yuejin nodding, he hurriedly said, Young Master Duan, the divine connection pill is a rare item in Mountain Overlook City. Our Chen clan's alchemists only have a 10% success rate when refining the divine connection pill. 2 years ago, our Chen clan sold the most recent divine connection pill. That's the only divine connection pill our Chen clan's alchemists have refined in the past 10 years. The divine connection pill required extremely precious herbs. Even the Chen clan could not find them easily. Due to the low success rate, the Chen clan could only refine one divine connection pill every 10 to 20 years. When Chen Tong saw the slight frown on Duan Lingtian's face, he continued to say, However, I heard that the Meng clan's alchemist refined a divine transcendence pill 3 months ago. It has been on the market for 3 months, but it seems like no one has sold it yet. Young Master Duan, you can go to the Meng clan's Still Water Pavilion to have a look. The Still Water Pavilion was the name of the Meng clan's alchemy shop. How many divine stones did the Meng clan sell that divine connection pill for? Duan Lingtian asked. 3,000 tales. Qian Tong replied. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.